The system sounded out. The system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Annihilation Chain's Damn. Annihilation Chain? This. Isn't his luck too good? Long Fei was extremely shocked. He knew that the chain was not ordinary. The power of the anchor was too strong. The chain and anchor were different. If the anchor evolved, the chain would have evolved as well. But Long Fei did not expect the chain to be so powerful. Looking at the attribute of the Annihilation Chains, Long Fei's heart trembled once again. 50% destructive power. Awesome. Haha. I've struck it rich. Long Fei was ecstatic. His attributes were a little heaven-defying, but it's a bit of a hassle to use. Too heavy. If you use the superpower boxing again, it shouldn't be difficult. If I were to use the destructive power of this chain, who else could it be? Long Fei secretly laughed. He had made a huge profit this time. Not only did he acquire an advanced technology amber, he also acquired an annihilation chain. With Phoenix by his side, his luck had improved. Returning to the training grounds, Bailey, too, started to reprimand him. Didn't I ask you to pack your things and go to the hall? Yet you ran around randomly and even took away that piece of deep-sea mysterious iron. Bastard, your skin is itchy, right? Long Fei said. Uncle Bailey, that piece of deep-sea mystical iron slipped into the deep sea due to improper handling. It has nothing to do with the sky sea. Bailey Tianhai grinned. Dad, I was the one who did it. What's the problem? What is the use of that piece of scrap iron? Bailey, too, was so angry that his eyes stared straight. Yang Dao smiled slightly and said, All right, it's getting late. We should get going. The idea moved and summoned the palm leaf fan. Yang Dao walked over and said, Tianhai, is there anything else you want to tell Father? This way, we'll be gone for at least 3 years, or at most 10 years. Bailey Tianhai replied, Nothing much to say. He stepped directly onto the banana leaf fan. On the other hand, Dahan said, Old master, don't worry. I will take good care of young master. Please take good care of yourself here. Bailey Two's eyes were filled with tears. He nodded and said, All right, all right, all right. Long Fei reminded him, Second brother, say something. The path of cultivation was long and arduous. To Powerhouse, 10 years of time might be equivalent to the flick of a finger, but to ordinary people, that was countless of years of time. Bailey Tianhai looked to the side with a stubborn look and didn't say anything. He was the four-brain genius, with a terrifying intelligence, but towards his own father, he did not know how to express it. Everyone sat down. The banana fans slowly floated up. Yang Dao took out the holy source stone that Bailey too had given him and said, This was given to me by your father. He told me to take good care of you. Even if I didn't accept it, your father wouldn't be at ease. Your father, actually. Bailey Tianhai looked at the holy source stones. He began to understand why his father had sold so many treasures that he liked. It was all to pave the way for him. All of a sudden, Bailey Tianhai was unable to control his emotions. With tears in his eyes, he shouted down the stairs, Father, take care of yourself. I never blamed you. I never did. On the ground, Bailey Two's tears could not help but roll out as she shouted loudly, Stinky brat. As he spoke, he smiled. Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai, but he was actually incomparably envious in his heart. So many years. His memories had been given to him by the seal. He couldn't even remember what his father looked like. He only knew of his single name. He clenched his fists. Dad, Mom, I'll definitely find you guys. I definitely will. Long Fei said with determination, Emperor Xian, I will definitely kill you with my own hands. Definitely. The dragon clan was slaughtered. Long Zhanting was captured by the Emperor Xian. How about now? What kind of pain was he suffering from? Long Fei didn't know. Right now, he only wanted to become as strong as possible, to become strong enough to crush Emperor Xian with one hand before meeting him. Before meeting the Emperor Xian, the only thing Long Fei could do was to desperately become stronger. As if sensing the longing in Long Fei's heart, the phoenix gently leaned on Long Fei's shoulder and muttered, I miss Aunt too. Long Fei withdrew his thoughts and said, Don't worry, I will bring you home. Yang Dao secretly hid the holy source stones and said, These holy source stones are useless to me. Take them and cultivate. It should be beneficial to your current cultivations. We need to fly for a few days to get to ancient antiquity. Cultivate properly during these few days, especially you, Long Fei. Yang Dao looked at Long Fei and said, "Your current cultivation level is too low. I know that your talent is very strong and you have great potential, but the elders of the ancient antiquity may not know about it. Furthermore, they will not give you any time to display it. If they don't think well of you, you won't be assigned a good place to cultivate. That's all. If the elders don't think well of you, then you will have to participate in the entrance exam. Actually, this test is just to make those who don't think well of you give up. Not many people can pass. The simplest and most direct method is to be selected by the elders. That way, it will be much easier." Yang Dao looked at Long Fei. Amongst the three of them, the one he was most worried about was Long Fei. Because Long Fei was unable to see through his potential, and on the contrary, Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dahan could see it with a glance. They were both geniuses that the ancient antiquity needed. Actually, Yang Dao bringing Long Fei back to the ancient antiquity actually had a certain amount of risk. A person who couldn't see through their talent would at most only be an outer disciple in the ancient antiquity and wouldn't be able to enter the core circle of the ancient antiquity for the rest of their lives. However, Yang Dao could tell that Long Fei was different from the others. Long Fei nodded his head. "I understand. You have to increase your cultivation as fast as possible. Even if you're not chosen by the elders, you have to work hard to pass the entrance exam and prove yourself to the elders of the ancient antiquity." Yang Dao helped Long Fei defend in advance. "I'm just afraid that Long Fei won't be able to accept it when the time comes." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I will." Bailey Tianhai said, "Boss, you are a sword cultivator. I have some understanding towards sword cultivators. I can help you solve any bottleneck." He was a genius, and a genius in cultivation. Zhao Dahan was confused and said, "Boss cultivation is low? Why do I feel like he's much taller than me? I will try my best to catch up with you." Long Fei smiled slightly. His cultivation was only at the second stage of apprentice. Very low, but he had not been in the ancient world for more than 10 days. This speed was already as fast as a monster. Long Fei said, "All right, I'm going to start cultivating." The idea moved. Refined space. Open. The refined space was divided into 8 doors, and behind each door, there was a training space. The refined space was divided into 8 doors, and behind each door, there was a training space. Different door, different training space. However, the time in training space was the same. It was 10, one in comparison to the outside world. Inside, he cultivated for 10 days. According to Yang Dao, he still had more than 2 days of flying time before he could reach the ancient antiquity. In other words, Long Fei still had more than 20 days' time before he could break through. Sword space. Long Fei stepped into the space within which he was cultivating the way of the sword. He began cultivating. Long Fei had practiced a lot of the way of the sword in the small world. Whether it was the various profound sword techniques or his understanding towards the way of the sword, he had mastered it well. He could only slowly start one step at a time. This was a completely new experience for him. From the time he had crossed worlds until now, he had relied on experience or killing people to increase his cultivation level. But now, he had the same cultivation method as an ordinary person. Huff! Long Fei let out a long breath. His eyes moved slightly as he rushed out. His steps were like snakes as he held onto the sword and continued to execute his basic sword techniques. Training was boring. A test of patience. 2 hours passed. 4 hours passed. 10 hours passed. Buzz! The moment he opened his spirit sense, the strength of his body visibly increased by a bit. His body also became a lot lighter. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, 3rd stage of apprentice. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. You have received the reward of 1st rank Holy Source Stone. In a refined space, every time he leveled up, he would be rewarded. This was the most attractive thing. And when he broke through, he would even get a dungeon, which was what Long Fei liked the most. Absorb. Long Fei absorbed all the holy source stones rewarded by the system. A surge of pure holy source power flowed into Long Fei's body. Huff. It's a comfortable feeling. Is this the power of the holy source inside the holy source stone? Long Fei could clearly feel a warm power surging within his body. Long Fei felt this wondrous feeling. In the past, he could absorb spirit stones similar to this holy source stone, but what did it increase? It was blue in quantity. There had never been such a feeling of energy flowing within his body. Is this the feeling of absorbing spirit stones? So strong. Long Fei tensed up and sat with his knees crossed, directing the energy of the holy source in his body. Open. Buzz. A loud boom resounded from within his body, and Long Fei uttered yet again. Break. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at the 4th stage of Apprentice. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a level 3 life soul pill. In less than half a minute, Long Fei had broken through once again. This speed, it could only be described with one word: astonishing. After Long Fei leveled up just now, the warm feeling in his body had disappeared. Long Fei stopped and thought to himself, looks like cultivation is really related to resources. As long as I have enough holy source stones, my speed should be very fast. Just now, it was obvious that the power within the holy source stone was helping Long Fei to break through his realm. If not for this holy source stone, it would have been impossible for a while. Resources, I need cultivation resources. Long Fei was secretly shocked. When training, one could not be separated from the words wealth companionland. Wealth. Only with enough money could you buy the cultivation resources you want. Couples, partners, physical needs, as well as the female cultivator's sexual communication, yin and yang, were both gentle and supple. This was also indispensable. Techniques, secret arts, and cultivation techniques. The cave. All 4 factors were indispensable. Long Fei had always been using his experience points to level up in the past, but now was different. Of course, if he did not want the reward from the instance dungeon, he could have just killed a powerhouse and soared to the sky without even thinking about it. However, in that case, he would lose a lot. After Long Fei entered cultivation, he sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. The simpleton was watching by the side. When Bailey Tianhai cultivated, he would never cultivate and would instead act as a protector. Right now, Long Fei was also cultivating. Big brother, second brother were both training. He couldn't let his guard down even more, even though it was midair. He was just as cautious. Long Fei's 2 consecutive auras rose. Bailey Tianhai was shocked awake. He turned his face to look at Long Fei and thought to himself, it's only been 2 hours, and he has actually broken through twice in a row. Too powerful. Yang Dao's face was also filled with shock. This cultivation speed is a little terrifying, but Yang Dao's brows tightened as he looked into the distance. He was still worried in his heart. The reason why he could see Long Fei's power was because he had been in contact with Long Fei for a relatively long time, but the elders of the ancient antiquity were not like him. This world never lacked geniuses. Amongst those recruited from all over the world, which one of them wasn't a genius? It could be said that the geniuses gathered together. Unpolished jade also needs to be carved to show value. However, no one was willing to wait for a genius. With so many geniuses, who would be willing to waste time on a genius? Yang Dao was very clear that these elders of the ancient antiquity would definitely not give Long Fei much time or patience. Long Fei's inherent skill was not obvious, and up till now, Yang Dao had not been able to see it. If such a person was placed in the midst of a group of geniuses, it would seem especially eye-catching because everyone's talent was better than Long Fei's. The elders simply would not give him any time. Huff! Yang Dao let out a light breath as he thought in his heart. His potential is definitely stronger than Bailey Tianhai's and Zhao Dehan's, but he didn't get the time from the Elders Guild, nor did they wait for him. No matter what, I have to find a chance to convince the Elder. He knew that if he wasn't selected in the first round, then the second round of the selection would be even more difficult. Even if one passed the selection successfully, there wouldn't be many elders who would fall for it. At most, one could only be an outer disciple and may not be able to step into the core circle of ancient antiquity for their entire life. The outer court disciples could do nothing. To put it harshly, outer sect disciples were the servants of the ancient antiquity. Everything they did was for the inner sect disciples and the elders. Yang Dao could not let Long Fei waste all of it in this place. If he recruited disciples, they would be the same as his own disciples. Yang Dao turned to look at Long Fei and thought to himself, "Brat, work a little harder. Your level is really too low. Let's fight a bit harder." 2 days passed quickly. The palm leaf fan went up through a thick layer of clouds. He was above the clouds. In the distance, it was a mountain range that was like a volcano. From afar, one could see a gigantic, fierce character embroidered at the mouth of the volcano. Behind the volcano was a series of mountains that towered in the sky, an existence that was like an immortal's paradise. Yang Dao stood up, her gaze blazing. With a slight sound, she said, "Ancient antiquity has arrived." The peak of the mountain towered into the clouds, and white clouds surrounded it as the flock of birds flew away. The peak of the mountain towered into the clouds, and white clouds surrounded it as the flock of birds flew away. It looked like the world in which immortals lived. The ancient antiquity was divided into 7 main groups: Sword Spirit, Strength Sect, Pill Pavilion, Array Extinction, Beast Mountain, Horcrux's Gate, Main Hall. The main hall was the center of it all. The 6 great powers surrounded it, forming a formation that looked like a 6-pointed star. The stars surrounded the moon. The main hall was the center point, which was also the place where the most power gathered. The other powers lined up one after another. The sword was the most powerful sword. Dan, the beast, was the middle. The array was formed by a machine. Although the 6 peaks had their own unique characteristics, they were not unique. The Pill Pavilion did not only train the disciples in alchemy, he had also allowed them to train in sword techniques, powerhouses, formations, and equipment forging. Just like in university, there was a major in one field and a minor in the others. The Pill Pavilion specialized in alchemy. He would use the pill to step into the Tao, and the pill to assist in his training. The same was true for the other forces. Every time Yang Dao returned to the ancient antiquity, his heart filled with emotion. That kind of pride rose involuntarily as he looked into the distance with his blazing eyes. This is the ancient antiquity, the place where you all will live in the future. This place will become the place where you all can grow up in, and this place will allow you all to soar into the skies. He spoke very excitedly. To Yang Dao, it was the ancient antiquity that raised him. This was his home. Although he did not have the qualifications to enter the core circle of the ancient antiquity, he had strived for the ancient antiquity his entire life. He traveled everywhere to find the talents needed by the ancient antiquity. He knew that the sects needed more powerful and fresh blood. Only then would the sects be able to continue growing stronger. These were the geniuses that he had recommended to the sect at least 20 times. After entering the inner court, they were now the elite disciples of the various branch sections. However, not many of these disciples remembered him. Yang Dao did not care about all these. As long as the sect was strong, he would be satisfied. Buzz! A loud boom echoed out. From the clouds, a crane suddenly emerged. Its sharp beak let out a cry. Caw! The power of the sound wave, which was visible to the naked eye, was unleashed in an instant. One of his hands covered Bailey Tianhai's ears, while the other hand covered Long Fei's ears. He was resisting it with all his might until his body was trembling. The cry of the immortal crane directly transmitted into his sea of consciousness. His mind and eardrums seemed to be on the verge of exploding. That kind of pain was too unbearable. Zhao Dehan was simply unable to endure it. Bailey Tianhai also instantly opened his eyes. His body sank, revealing a painful expression. His hands covered his ears. His forehead turned sinister as he stared at the gigantic red-crowned crane. Long Fei was training in the refined space. His body felt the sound wave attack, and in that instant, he simply did not have time to come out from the refined space, nor did he have the time to use the power of the ancient dragon body. He spat out a mouthful of blood, eyes wide with anger. His face turned slightly pale. He glared at the gigantic crane not too far away. Blood gushed from his eardrums. His sea of consciousness rolled, and his mind shook. It was very uncomfortable. Long Fei looked at the man on the red-crowned crane and cursed. Fuck! The man on top of the crane was dressed in white, standing tall and straight, with a look of contempt in his eyes. He looked at Yang Dao, laughed, and said, Yang Dao, how many pieces of trash did you get? What do you think of the ancient antiquity? To be a dumpster? Yang Dao said indifferently, Lin Yuan, they're all talented people. How dare you? Without waiting for Yang Dao to finish speaking, Lin Yuan snorted coldly. Can you call me by my name? Yang Dao, you are also an old man from the ancient antiquity. What's my status now? What is your identity? How could someone like you call me by my name? Yang Dao's gaze tensed up. Long Fei said solemnly, so arrogant. Yang Dao quickly gave Long Fei a meaningful glance to silence him, then politely smiled and bowed to Lin Yuan. Senior brother Lin. Lin Yuan laughed complacently. That's more like it. Ha ha. Yang Dao, how many years have you been in ancient antiquity before me? 10 years or 20? Speaking of which, you were the one who brought me into the ancient antiquity. I didn't expect that after so long, you would actually become like this. Now you want to call me senior brother instead. Huh. Lin Yuan laughed proudly. Hearing his words, Long Fei and the others all became suspicious. The disciple that Yang Dao brought in was actually going to make Yang Dao call him senior brother? Furthermore, this person called Lin Yuan. Not only did he not know how to be grateful, he even dared to mock Yang Dao. In the face of Lin Yuan's mockery, Yang Dao acted as if he did not hear it, and politely replied, Senior brother Lin has outstanding talent, and is also a natural-born beast warrior. Since you have received the direct disciple of the Beast Mountain King and became an elite disciple of the Inner Court in less than a year, I naturally have to call you senior brother. Yang Dao's humility did not stop him. Rather, he mocked him even more. Ha ha ha! Lin Yuan laughed disdainfully. Yang Dao, oh Yang Dao, what use do you think you have? He had been in the ancient antiquity for so many years and was still an outer disciple. I really can't understand why ancient antiquity must raise an old trash like you. Another sneer. Long Fei could not hold in his anger. The anger in his heart was bubbling. There was actually such a person? Originally, he was already very unhappy after being shaken by the immortal crane sound wave to the point of spitting blood, but hearing Lin Yuan's words, he became even more furious in his heart. What was his motto in life? If you don't accept it, then do it. Let alone you being an elite disciple of the inner sect. Even if you were ancient antiquities sect Master Long Fei, you would still go and take revenge. Immediately, Long Fei said angrily, I said Elder Yang is trash, but who the hell are you? Scum shit. If it wasn't for Elder Yang leading the way, who knows where you would be. Now that you're acting so cocky here, you have to be careful. I really wonder where this sense of superiority came from. If I were your father, I would have shot you on the wall. After Long Fei finished speaking, Zhao Dahan immediately cheered. Boss, well said. Bailey Tianhai clapped his hands and gave Long Fei a big thumbs up. Only Phoenix muttered, What do you mean by shooting you into the wall? Long Fei said in a low voice, About this. It's a rather profound technique. Yang Dao's face sunk. He gently shook his head at Long Fei, signaling him to stop. Lin Yuan shot a glance at Long Fei and disregarded him immediately, because Long Fei was not qualified to speak to him. So he looked at Yang Dao and sneered. So, this is the trash that you've brought in? Yang Dao said, They all have their own unique inherent skills. Lin Yuan interrupted him again. Unique trash? Then, Lin Yuan's gaze turned and suddenly looked at Long Fei. At this moment, the eyes of the gigantic immortal crane suddenly widened and immediately locking onto Long Fei. In an instant, with the pressure pouring in, Long Fei's body sank. Lin Yuan sneered and said, Brat, You don't even have the qualifications to speak to me? Don't worry, trash like you won't be able to enter the ancient antiquity. Trash! Phoenix stared at Lin Yuan angrily. You dare to scold my husband? Phoenix's temper was a little bad. Phoenix's temper was a little bad. She didn't care who she scolded, but the only thing she couldn't do was scold Long Fei. Not a word. Immediately, she was furious. With both hands on her waist, she angrily said, You dare to insult my husband. I'll make you suffer. Lin Yuan shot a glance at the phoenix before completely ignoring it and coldly laughed. Another piece of trash. This time, Phoenix was even more infuriated. Her two eyes looked just like they were staring at a furious Pikachu, as though it was about to shoot 100,000 volts of electricity to kill Lin Yuan. However, at this moment, Yang Dao pulled at Phoenix and said in a low voice, Little Ant, please don't say anything. Phoenix said, I won't say anything. I will directly take action. Get out of the way. See how I'm going to deal with him. He actually dares to scold my husband. What does he count as? What qualifications do you have to scold my husband? He had to rush to the front. Lin Yuan's face was filled with contempt and extreme disdain. Yang Dao continued, If you were to take action, then our ancient antiquity does not need to go. We will be eliminated. He actually dared to make a move on an inner disciple of the ancient antiquity to join them. This was impossible. Once they took action, Lin Yuan would report this matter to the top. Then Long Fei and the other two would not have to go to the ancient antiquity and would be eliminated. If they were eliminated, it was possible that they would be hunted down. Yang Dao did not want to do this. He thought that Long Fei and the other two had great potential and would definitely shine in ancient antiquity. It could also help the ancient antiquity increase his strength. Seeing Yang Dao act this way, Long Fei indifferently said, Bing Bing, forget it. Phoenix said, No one is allowed to scold you. Seeing that Yang Dao was about to be unable to hold on to the phoenix, the idea moved, and the palm leaf fan suddenly dropped. Laughed, then said, Forget it. Don't lower yourself to the same level as a scum. In any case, there's still a lot of time left in ancient antiquity, and there's still plenty of time. The phoenix chi relaxed slightly. At this moment, Lin Yuan sneered, Trash is trash. His voice was not loud, but it was heard by Phoenix. How could he be this angry? Phoenix imitated Long Fei's tone and said, Damn you. Do you really think I'm a little sparrow if I don't show you my might? Now that they had left, the phoenix's voice could not reach Lin Yuan's ears. There won't be any consequences. Yang Dao also did not stop Phoenix from leaving. Phoenix's pupils changed, and she muttered softly, You actually dare to ride on a flying beast in front of me? I am a king of birds. Buzz! Her aura suddenly changed. No one could sense this change, because the phoenix came from the Phoenix Valley, and she was a person of the divine space. Unless it was a person of the divine space, her power would not be easily sensed. A surge of power gushed out. Woo-woo! Above the layer of clouds, the crane suddenly went out of control and went berserk. Completely out of control, it rotated at 360 degrees. Lin Yuan said heavily, Bastard, what are you trying to do? Stop, stop, bastard. She didn't listen to him at all. Caw! With a scream, the Red Crown Man suddenly flung Lin Yuan away. Its sharp mouth was like a awl, piercing towards Lin Yuan, who was sent flying. Lin Yuan stabilized his body and continued to dodge. It had to be said that Lin Yuan's strength was not to be underestimated. The Red Crown Crane was a flying beast of the immortal stage, and its attribute was extremely high, so its consecutive attacks were extremely fast. Furthermore, it had the advantage in flying, but even so, it still did not manage to stab Lin Yuan. Swift steps continuously dodged. While dodging, he tried to use his beast-taming powers to regain control of the middle immortal crane. Animal, calm down. Did you hear that? Bastard, he shouted loudly. His talent was that of a beast, and he was also the king of Beast Mountain's direct disciple. His ability to control beasts was extremely high, but right now, it was completely useless. The red-crowned crane attacked crazily as both its wings pounced madly. The wind was like blades as it let out mournful screams, and the sound waves rushed towards Lin Yuan one after another. Lin Yuan was very agitated. At the same time, Lin Yuan was also enraged. He waved his sword and bellowed, "Bastard, go and die." His figure flashed, and his sword slashed out. Crash! The crane head was cut off, and the crane fell down. Fresh blood sprayed all over Lin Yuan's body. He was in an extremely sorry state. In the distance, Yang Dao, Bailey Tianhai, Zhao Dehan, and the others were all dumbfounded. Phoenix continued to giggle loudly. "You deserved it, deserved it. I told you to scold my husband. Ha ha." Very happy, Long Fei's expression sank and directly sent a sound transmission to the Phoenix. "How did you promise me that? Didn't I tell you not to use your own strength? Don't tell me you want to be like the Master Xian." Once the power of the Phoenix was captured, it would become exceptionally dangerous. Long Fei still vividly remembered what happened that night. The black-clothed powerhouse was too powerful. With Long Fei's current cultivation, even if he added in the strength of the ancient dragon body, he would still not be a match for her. He was really worried. If those black-clothed people appeared, how was he going to protect Phoenix? The only thing he could do now was to hide the Phoenix, hiding and making himself stronger. There were also considerations in this regard when entering the ancient antiquity. Because the black-clothed man would only know that Phoenix was going to return to the Phoenix Valley. He would not think that she would enter the ancient antiquity. This also gave Long Fei more time to become strong. During this entire process, Long Fei told the Phoenix not to reveal its own strength, and even more so not to use its own strength. Long Fei said with a heavy tone. Phoenix lowered her head and gently played with the hem of her clothes. She softly said, "Hubby, I was wrong. I won't do it again." Long Fei calmed down and said, "I shouldn't have said that so heavily just now. However, you must remember, even if my life is in danger, you can't use your own strength, understand?" Phoenix raised her head and was about to say, but Long Fei stared at her and said, "Do you understand?" Phoenix lowered her head again and muttered, "I understand." Their conversation was being transmitted to the others, but no one noticed it. Zhao Dehan laughed and said, "Serves you right. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant." In the distance, Lin Yuan stared fiercely at Yang Dao. His gaze tensed up as he said with a heavy voice, "Yang Dao, of the many people that you have brought this year, one of them entered the ancient antiquity with your surname, and I will be with you." Humph! Incomparable rage. This red-crowned crane was something he had subdued yesterday, and he had killed it before it even had the chance to make a ruckus. He felt an incomparable amount of hatred in his heart. Yang Dao laughed bitterly, turned around and looked at the three of them, and said, "This is even more difficult. Lin Yuan is a disciple that the Beast Mountain King has set his eyes on. This time, the Beast Mountain King had even sent him to pick a disciple. You guys have offended him, I'm afraid," Bailey Tianhai said. "Elder Yang, you do not have to worry. The ancient antiquity is not opened by his family. Even if there are no elders interested in us, we can still work hard to pass the selection ourselves." Elder Yang said, "I hope so." There was no absolute respect in the world of the martial arts training, only the fear of the powerhouse. There was no absolute respect in the world of the martial arts training, only the fear of the powerhouse. When Yang Dao brought Lin Yuan into the ancient antiquity, Lin Yuan was not grateful in the least, but he still looked down on the weak. This happened very often, so Yang Dao thought that it was normal. As long as these people could become stronger in the ancient antiquity and increase the strength of the ancient antiquity, that would be enough for him. Yang Dao rode on the palm leaf fan, and the group of 5 landed on the ground. Above the clouds was a huge mountain. Under the clouds, this was no longer a mountain, but a mountain that stretched as far as the eye could see. Yang Dao said, "This is the intense flaming mountain range, and the 7 peaks of our ancient antiquity are located in this mountain range. Even though you may not look much from high above, in reality, every mountain peak is separated by more than 10,000 kilometers. Aside from these mountains, This mountain range is also extremely dangerous. Don't casually go in. There are many powerful demon beasts and ancient demons in the mountain range. Don't think too much about these monsters when you see them. Just run as fast as you can. Yang Dao explained, "Please wait here for a moment. I will register for you." As Yang Dao left, Zhao Dahan stretched his muscles and bones, feeling a lot more at ease. Yang Dao was just like teachers. They were students, and with a teacher around, the students would naturally not dare to be too relaxed. Bailey Tianhai said, "Elder Yang said that the mountain range is extremely dangerous. I think that if there are no elders selecting us, we will need to be assessed inside." Zhao Dahan was startled and said, "Second brother, you knew?" Long Fei said, "Don't worry, with your talents as ancient elites, there should be an elder or powerhouse who wants you. When the time comes, you don't need to worry about me." One was the forebrain genius, the other was the innate divine strength. This kind of talent was definitely something to be reckoned with. There was no need to worry at all. Is Long Fei? Zhao Dahan said, "Big brother, what about you?" Long Fei smiled and said, "Don't worry, I am an old cunning fox. There's no examination that would be hard for me," said. "We have sworn brothers, sharing honor and disgrace, sharing fortune and suffering together. If the elders had not chosen you, we would have fought with you in the outer sect. I do not believe that we three brothers will not be able to enter the inner sect." He was in high spirits. Bailey Tianhai was extremely proud of himself, because he's smart. But that was because the world he was exposed to was too small. This was the ancient antiquity, and all the disciples here were geniuses among geniuses. Those who could be directly chosen to enter the inner sect were even more monstrous. Long Fei said, "Don't, you guys go in first, we will." Just as Long Fei was speaking, he suddenly stopped and looked towards his direction. Bailey Tianhai followed Long Fei's gaze and looked over. Wow. Zhao Dahan also looked over. He was normally silly with only one thing in his mind. Other than eating, it was training. No matter what kind of love he had, he did not know anything about men and women. His eyes couldn't help but stare. What a beautiful woman. Beautiful? To the woman not far away, this word was too ordinary. She could no longer use the word beautiful to describe it. Allure. She was like a fox and had the temperament of a fairy. When these two were combined on a human, any male would be able to remember them for the rest of their lives just by looking at them. Beautiful. Beautiful. She was as beautiful as a beautiful, evil woman. She was also as beautiful as a devastatingly beautiful beauty. Everyone was stunned by her appearance. One by one, both men and women stood rooted to the ground, as if they had been petrified by her beauty. Her every frown, every movement on her body, and every movement of her clothes seemed to be like a goddess walking out of a painting. It made everyone's heart tighten. Breathing stopped. It was too beautiful, a breathtaking beauty. Long Fei looked at her. His heart also suddenly stopped beating. His eyes tensed up. Looking at her, his eyes stared straight at her. He didn't dare to look straight into the eyes of that beauty like the rest of the crowd. He was looking straight into her eyes. Just like the others, he too was stunned. But he was different from others in that he felt as if he had seen this woman before in his previous life, as if it had appeared in his mind. He didn't know why. This feeling was very strong. It was as if they knew each other, as if they were once his women. The woman's eyes were cold. There were no ripples in her gaze, just like a calm spring, without a single ripple. Facing the burning gazes of the crowd, her gaze did not change at all. It was like rejecting the entire world. Step by step, she walked up the steps of the mountain gate. Step by step, she walked into the depths of the mountain gate. Everyone looked at her, then tiptoed and stretched their necks, wishing they could look at her for a little longer, until the woman's figure completely disappeared. Only then did those who were holding their breath let out a heavy sigh. Huff! It's so beautiful! Wow! How can there be such a beautiful woman in this world? Is this the ancient antiquities goddess? I feel like I'm falling in love. Damn, I even felt like I fell in love. Do you know who she is? Is that something you can indulge in? Wake up, stop dreaming. I am a newcomer. Who is that senior sister? I have to get into her department. I have to fight for her all my life. Damn, you don't even know her. I really don't know where you bunch of bumpkins came from. She is the #1 goddess of the ancient antiquity and also the great senior sister of the Sword Elf Mountain. Her name is Luluashi. You group of idiots shouldn't worry too much. Her cultivation is not something that you scum can reach. You can only look up to her. Luluashi, I have never heard such a pleasant name. I have decided, no matter what, I want to join the Sword Elf Mountain. I'm going all out. All of them were extremely excited, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. It was as if he wanted to immediately enter the Sword Elf Mountain and become the beautiful woman's junior brother. Bailey Tionhai smiled slightly and said, Sword Elf Mountain? I happen to be a sword cultivator as well. It was very obvious that even an extremely conceited four-brain genius like Bailey Tionhai was subdued by Luluashi's beauty. Zhao Dahen muttered, Too bad I'm not a sword cultivator. Phoenix giggled and said, Hubby, that big sister is so pretty. She's a sword cultivator, and you're a sword cultivator too. I support you in chasing her down. When we become sword cultivators together, how nice would that be? Phoenix looked at Long Fei as she spoke. Long Fei's gaze had still stayed at the place where Luluashi had disappeared from, and he muttered, Luluashi. The name was too familiar. However, the familiar man could not say it out loud, but he could not recall it. His head was aching. Memory seal. Long Fei took a deep breath. Damn it, Emperor Xian did not die, but his memories of seal were still there. His memories were still stuck in the seal. When he heard the 3 words, Luluashi, Long Fei was a little despondent, as if his heart had been grabbed. It was very hard. He wanted to release this pain, but he couldn't. He stood there in a daze, watching Luluashi slowly disappear from his sight. He wanted to rush forward, wanted to shout out her name. However, he couldn't cry out. He could only stand on the spot in a daze. Bailey Tionhai laughed. Big brother, hey, big brother, are you that bewitched? Ha ha! The charm of a beauty is indeed extraordinary. Long Fei was startled and recovered. What happened? His heart tightened and muttered once again, Luluashi? Bailey Tionhai laughed. Big brother, you are also enchanted, right? Ha ha! I can give you the rest, but she won't do it. I'll definitely do my best to get her, huh? Phoenix raised her fist and said, You dare, Bailey Tionhai said. Pursuing beauties is the right of every man. Even if he's my big brother, I won't let him go either. At this moment, Long Fei couldn't help but say, She's my woman. As soon as he finished, Bailey Tionhai and Zhao Dahen looked at Long Fei at the same time. The crowd burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, ha ha. What did he say? Luluashi is his woman? This is the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. Ha. Brat, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Do you have a goddess that's worthy of me? You better not let the people from the Sword Elf Mountain hear about it. Otherwise, they will smash your mouth to smithereens. Long Fei's words were just like a big joke. The crowd burst into laughter. However, Long Fei's expression was very serious. He was not ashamed of the laughter around him. Bailey Tionhai looked at Long Fei and asked, Big brother, is she really your woman? I can't. You just came to ancient antiquity. How could she be your woman? If it was your woman, how could she not recognize you? This doesn't make sense. Big brother, I haven't read that many books, so don't lie to me. If it's really your woman, then a gentleman won't take away another's love. Zhao Dahen also asked seriously, Big brother, is it true? Phoenix also looked at Long Fei with curiosity and said, Hubby, quickly tell me. Long Fei was silent for a moment, then laughed bitterly. I don't know. It seems to be very familiar, and her name is also very familiar to me, but I just can't think of her appearance. Maybe she's from the same surname. It wasn't impossible. The world was big, and there were many people with the same surname. Moreover, Long Fei couldn't even remember her appearance as he memorized the seal. What was she called? Long Fei felt very upset in his heart. King Emperor Xian, my memories of the seal. CK, your 18 generations of ancestors. Bailey Tianhai's heart relaxed, and he laughed. Then it's definitely not. Then I can relax and boldly chase after him. Ha ha. Big brother, don't worry. She won't be your woman. I'll make her your sister-in-law. Ha ha ha. Bailey Tianhai said confidently. Whether it was appearance or intelligence, he had always been very confident. If a woman doesn't love you, it's because you haven't touched her heart. Long Fei smiled and did not continue arguing. At this moment, Yang Dao walked back and said, "There are still 2 hours before the 7 great representatives from the inner sect come down for the selection. When it is your turn, try to display your talent to the best of your abilities. This will be of great help to you." As Yang Dao spoke, he patted Long Fei's shoulders and said, "I've already arranged everything. Don't feel too much pressure." Bailey Tianhai did not care about all this. His entire mind was now on how to chase up to Lu Luoxi, and he asked, "Elder Yang, did that goddess really come from the Sword Elf Mountain?" Yang Dao nodded and said, "Yes, the great senior sister of Sword Elf Mountain." "Beautiful, right? Haha, if I was a few years younger, I would also be as mesmerized as you. But I suggest you stop worrying. From the moment she entered the ancient antiquity until now, there has not been a single man who could obtain his heart, nor have you ever smiled at any man. She's like a 10,000-year-old ice mountain. You won't be able to melt her. It's better for you to focus on your cultivation." The corner of Bailey Tianhai's mouth lifted and said, "Only with high difficulty can there be a challenge. I, Bailey Tianhai, have never failed something. I will definitely catch her." Long Fei suddenly asked, "Elder Yang, how did she enter the ancient antiquity, and for how long?" Yang Dao thought for a while, then said, "I'm not sure of the specific time, but it should be over 100 years. Her talent is also very special. Her talent for sword cultivation is extremely high, and she can also create talismans. In short, your talent is way worse than hers, so all of you should recognize the reality of the situation. Some people can only look up to her. It's out of reach." There were simply too many rumors regarding Lu Luoxi. A heavenly woman descended to the mortal world, the goddess of the foreign lands. There were even rumors that she didn't like men. She was a stone maiden. But no matter the rumors, her position as a goddess in the ancient antiquity had never wavered. Ever since she entered the ancient antiquity, she had always been in first place on the sex goddess board. Long Fei thought to himself, 100 years is about the same as Xiao Bai, Ice and Fire, and the Queen, but could it be her? After a period of time, a person's appearance would also change. He was unable to confirm if Long Fei's memories were the CLS. Phoenix giggled and said, "Hubby, don't worry. I think that little big sister is pretty good. I'll help you steal her." Yang Dao laughed. "You guys should give up on this idea. She has many flower protectors in the inner sect. If they want to chase her, you all must be strong enough. All right, get ready. The selection is about to begin. You have to be patient." Yang Dao reminded. Zhao Dahen nodded and said, "Amen." Long Fei's mind flew. He didn't have the mood to continue cultivating. Bailey Tianhai was naturally at ease. To him, Lu Luoxi was about to become his woman. 2 hours passed quickly. A group of people descended from the upper steps. This group of people were chatting, and the person in the middle was Lin Yuan, who had just killed his own mount with his own hands. Looking at the group of people, Yang Dao's heart immediately tightened. This is bad. Bailey Tianhai also said solemnly, "It's that Lin Yuan again." Lin Yuan slowly walked down from the peak and glanced at Yang Dao, who was in the middle of the crowd, and said to the people around him. Lin Yuan slowly walked down from the peak and glanced at Yang Dao, who was in the middle of the crowd, and said to the people around him, "Senior brother Lin, don't worry. This small matter is too simple. That old trash, Yang Dao, hasn't died. He's still not leaving even with that thick of a face. His skin sure is thick enough. That old trash brought the lame duck. He's a perfect match. He can only deceive those new disciples. I wonder how many useful disciples he has brought with him all these years. All of them are trash, carrying the name of the ancient antiquity and fooling around. How shameful." The few disciples beside Lin Yuan all started to mock him. Lin Yuan laughed and said, I will be counting on my brothers for help later. Don't worry, after this matter, I will do my best to help me with anything that is needed to tame Demon Beast. Senior brother Lin is too polite. Yeah, it's just a small matter. Lin Yuan secretly sneered at Yang Dao. Old trash, the person you brought can enter the ancient antiquity. They are representatives. He was the representative of the 7 big powers of the ancient antiquity. It meant that the elders were able to test everyone's talent. The results they provided directly affected whether or not these people could be selected. They were inner court disciples. Seeing them appear, the outer sect disciples that were maintaining order revealed looks of admiration and admiration on their faces. One by one, they bowed respectfully. Senior brother, senior brother, senior brother. Even outer door presbyter had to be respectful when he saw inner disciples. Senior brother, the outer sect of ancient antiquity only served the inner sect. As long as one entered the inner sect, they would be above others in the ancient antiquity. However, if they couldn't enter the inner court and could only enter the outer court, then the inner court disciples would step on them for the rest of their lives. Lin Yuan walked down the stage and directly walked in front of Yang Dao, coldly smiled, and said, "Old trash, I will make it so that not a single one of your people will be able to enter the inner sect." Ha! Lin Yuan's gaze swept across them and glanced at Long Fei and the others, his eyes filled with contempt. Phoenix was about to fly into a rage. Long Fei pulled her. He did not want to make it difficult for Yang Dao. If it was him alone, he was afraid that Lin Yuan would fall on the ground and not move. Too arrogant. Is the ancient antiquity his home? I don't believe that he can cover the sky with one hand. Bailey Tianhai was very unhappy. Yang Dao exhaled a heavy breath and said, "No matter what, all of you should be extra careful and work even harder to display your talents. Even if you haven't entered the inner sect yet, don't be discouraged. The inner sect still has a chance." Yang Dao helped them prepare preventive measures. Bailey Tianhai said, "Elder Yang, don't worry, I will definitely enter the inner sect." Bam! After the gong sounded, one of the elders shouted, "All of you, quiet down. We're going to conduct a test of talent. This is the most important test for all of you. If your gifted vein is selected, you can directly enter the inner sect and become an inner sect disciple. However, if you do not meet the criteria, you should not be discouraged. All right, those whose names are listed below, come up. I'll remember it. Try your best to show your talent. Ancient antiquity does not accept trash." As soon as he finished, the entire audience was stunned. There were thousands of people present. Every single person here was a genius among geniuses. There were tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of people in a city that had chosen one of them to be chosen. Right now, they were competing on who was more talented. Geniuses were selected from the group of geniuses. In the distance, the 7 elders landed. They stood in 7 different directions. They were the elders of the 7 great powers, and also the ones who had the true power to decide. Every single one of them had a cultivation base that was above the Sword Saints. The 7 of them swept their gaze over the crowd before sighing. It seems like this match was all for naught. There aren't any outstanding talents. I wonder why those people were recruited. They are all ordinary people. Only Beast King Mountain's Lin Yuan is not bad. He seems to be here today as well. I should have taken him back then. Haha. He is now one of the top disciples of the Beast Mountain and has received the direct disciple of the Beast King. Stop wasting time, hurry up and start. They looked impatient because they didn't want to waste time on a group of ordinary people. They had roughly sensed that the person they were looking for wasn't here with just a single glance. In other words, this time, the rookie selection was for naught. An elder said softly, "Let them begin." "Xiaimo, come out." A bald man with a tuft of hair on his head walked out. He hugged his fists and heavily said, "I am Xiaimo. My talent is Vajrawan." As soon as he finished, everyone laughed. "Diamond, diamond? Do you want porcelain?" "Ha ha." Xiaimo also laughed, but it was not on purpose. "Let's test the blood vein's inherent skill first." Xiaimo walked forward and a drop of his blood fell onto the green stone. The green stone absorbed the blood, and a faint green light flashed. Fourth level blood vein, low level blood vein. A fourth rank blood vein is still low. Damn, aren't these standards too high? Fourth rank blood vein. If it isn't a natural blood vein, it would be a transformed blood vein that spirit blood absorbed from a fourth stage demon beast. This is too difficult. Everyone whispered amongst themselves. If a fourth stage blood vein was placed in an ordinary city, it could be said to be a terrifying existence. However, in front of ancient antiquity, there were only low-level blood vein. To put it bluntly, there were only trash blood vein-s. Xia Imo, with a nonchalant look on his face, walked to the place where his talent was displayed. Lin Yuan raised his hand and said, "Please begin your performance." Xia Imao moved slightly. His horse steps sank. He was angry at the pubes. His two eyes suddenly stared, and a light suddenly appeared above his head. The loose strands of hair suddenly shot up to the sky. It became a hairstyle like a flycatcher. It provoked another round of ridicule from the crowd. However, in the next second, no one laughed. The head of Xia Imao suddenly hit the ground heavily, and then fiercely flipped up, a deep hole appearing in the thick granite floor. It was that tuft of hair. As he continuously rolled about, one deep hole after another appeared on the ground. His tuft of hair was like a drill. Long Fei said indifferently, "Diamond hair? Interesting." It was just that. An elder said in a deep voice, "Cultivation is not a juggling. You go over it again and again. Are you a monkey?" "Next." Immediately, presided elders quickly said, "Not qualified next." Xia Imao's gaze darkened as he walked down dispiritedly. The hair that soared to the sky above his head also loosened. It scattered and scattered all over the top of his head like a bald man. Xia Imo used his hand to brush his hair, looking somewhat wretched as he mumbled, "Me is a juggler." Yang Dao said, "He could be considered an ancient era's energy user, but his potential has yet to awaken. It's a pity." One by one, they went down, and one by one, they became dejected. There was no lack of those with ancient ability. It was just that their strength was a bit too deviated from the path of cultivation. In fact, most of them were very chaotic. Next, Zhao Dehan. As soon as he finished, Zhao Dehan replied excitedly, "It's my turn." Lin Yuan raised his gaze, and his eyes moved slightly. The other disciple already understood. Zhao Dehan walked to the blood vein testing stage. Zhao Dehan walked to the blood vein testing stage. Spirit blood landed. The green stone had absorbed spirit blood, and then it shouted out a green light. The purity of the green light was extremely high. However, without waiting for the results of the test to come out, the disciple shouted coldly, "Third rank blood vein, low." Finished. The disciple placed one hand on top of the green stone and coldly said to Zhao Dehan, "What are you still standing there for? Let's go down." Zhao Dehan scratched his head. He had thought that his blood veins were of a high level, but he did not expect it to be only a third stage blood vein. However, it did not affect him. She smiled awkwardly at Bailey Tianhai, then walked towards the talent display stand. Bailey Tianhai immediately said, "That's not right. A big and silly blood vein cannot be a third stage blood vein." Long Fei also said, "Something's not right." Yang Dao strode forward and said, "Elder, I request that Zhao Dehan undergo another examination." He could also tell that Zhao Dehan was definitely not a third stage blood vein. Even if an ancient blood vein had not awakened, it was still impossible for it to only be at the third rank. Most warriors were third stage blood vein. Zhao Dehan's talent could not be third stage blood vein. The level of blood vein was too low. However, just as Yang Dao finished speaking, an elder stood up and spoke with disdain. "Who are you? You said that you would test it again when you want to test it again? Who do you think you are?" Yang Dao saluted and said, "Disciple Yang Dao is an outer disciple of the ancient antiquity and is specifically searching for a variety of talented disciples for the ancient antiquity." "So you're Yang Dao? I was wondering why there's still a third level trash here. So it was brought here by an old trash like you." The clan elder did not give Yang Dao any face. Even if Yang Dao stayed in ancient antiquity longer than him, it would still be the same. Yang Dao's eyes darkened slightly as she said, "Elder, please test him again." "How dare you?" Another elder stood up and shouted. "What do you think this place is? How can we waste our time on a piece of trash? Even if our time is not worth much. What about the elder of Inner House? Yang Dao. Oh, Yang Dao, didn't you recruit so many trash every year just because you want to obtain set contribution points to maintain your status in the ancient antiquity? What? Do you want to go to heaven? Do you really think you can find geniuses from the ancient era? Do you still want to take this opportunity to enter the inner sect? Wake up, stop dreaming." After the elder finished speaking, many of the surrounding people began to laugh. "Huh, ha ha ha. That means he shamelessly stays here and finds some trash every year. What's the use of that? If he doesn't take a piss and look at himself, will the genius of the ancient era be discovered by him? He's a piece of trash himself." "Ah!" Everyone mocked. Yang Dao acted as if he hadn't heard, as if he had seen something. However, his eyes secretly tightened. Even if they pretended not to see it, no one would mind. It was the same for Yang Dao. What was hard to bear was not the ridicule, but the fact that no one understood him and misunderstood his intentions. He only wanted to do his best to help the ancient antiquity. If his cultivation was not good enough to become the powerhouse, then he wanted to find a few more disciples with potential to help ancient antiquity and add fuel to the fire. However, his actions were considered shameless. Even so, he was still the same. Yang Dao said firmly, "I still hope that Elder can give him another chance and request that you allow him to test it again. This is too presumptuous. What do you think we are?" "Yang Dao, I think you don't want to stay here anymore." All the outer door presbyters were very angry. Lin Yuan started laughing coldly and said proudly, "Elders, there's no need to be angry. Yang Dao, since you insist on the request, our ancient antiquity will not miss out on any genius who has been buried, but what if his blood vein level hasn't changed? Then he and the people you brought with him today all lose their qualifications." Yang Dao's gaze tensed up. Zhao Dahan immediately said, "I am a third-stage blood vein. I do not need to test any further." He didn't want to make it difficult for Yang Dao, and even more so, didn't want to disqualify Long Fei and Bailey Tianhai. Because of him, Yang Dao's eyes turned cold, and his fists secretly clenched inside his sleeves. Lin Yuan laughed. "A third-stage blood vein trash has more awareness than you. How come you, an old trash, don't have any awareness at all?" "Ha!" Many people began to laugh. Yang Dao's face was ugly, his heart feeling guilty toward Zhao Dahan. He was the one who found him, but he was being treated unfairly. He was very clear that Zhao Dahan's blood veins were definitely more than just at the third rank, but so what? In the outer sect, it could be said that Lin Yuan's identity covered the sky with one hand. In the inner sect, he was also a direct disciple of the King of Beasts, so very few people would offend him because of a single disciple. Yang Dao walked back and laughed bitterly. "It's because I'm useless. I've let you down. I'm afraid that today's election." Bailey Tianhai said, "Elder Yang, don't blame yourself. I will settle this debt with Lin Yuan sooner or later." Long Fei also said, "Gold will always shine later. It's the same. That Lin Yuan is obviously targeting us." "I really hate him," she huffed. Yang Dao replied, "It's all because of me. Back then, when I took him into the ancient antiquity, I only said that his talent was flawed, and then he took it into his heart. I only wanted him to realize his own inadequacies, but..." Sigh. Yang Dao sighed. Bailey Tianhai said, "Elder Yang, don't worry. The level of the big and innocent blood vein is not high. His talent is very strong. Just wait and see. He'll definitely be able to intimidate the entire audience." At this moment, Zhao Dahan was already standing on the talent display stage. Lin Yuan laughed disdainfully and said, "Show me your talent." Zhao Dahan replied, "My talent is power." Lin Yuan asked, "Strength? You're very strong?" Zhao Dahan replied, "Machem." Lin Yuan said, "Since your strength is very strong, then let me test how strong you are." And then Lin Yuan walked out. The disciples that were not in the ancient sect were slightly surprised. Yang Dao was also shocked. One must know that Lin Yuan was an inner disciple. His cultivation level was far higher than Zhao Dehan's. Yang Dao immediately said, "Clan Elder, the talent display shouldn't be tested by the inner disciples, right? How to test it is our business. How are you, a small recruitment officer, going to do so much?" The elder said heavily. Lin Yuan walked to the stage and glanced at Zhao Dehan. Pausing for a few seconds, Lin Yuan smiled and said, "Come, let me experience your power." Zhao Dehan hugged his fists and said, "Then I won't be polite." He punched out. A sonic boom could be heard, but without waiting for his fist to fall, Lin Yuan's eyes turned sinister. Clenching his fist, the ring on his index finger suddenly exploded out, with a punch landing 3 inches under Zhao Dehan's armpit. Pucci. Seeing that, Bailey Tianhai's gaze turned serious. Oh no. Seeing that, Bailey Tianhai's gaze turned serious. Oh no. That's where the big and silly hood door lies. Everyone had their own weaknesses. With Zhao Dehan's inborn divine strength, the weakness of his body was even more obvious. As long as he hit the weakness, all the strength in his body would dissipate, and he would be unable to gather any strength for a short period of time. Obviously, Lin Yuan saw through Zhao Dehan's weakness. His cultivation was only at Master Swordsman rank. His honest cultivation was only at Big Swordsman. The difference in realm was too huge. In a few seconds, Lin Yuan was able to discover his hood door. The key was, Zhao Dehan was very simple. He thought Lin Yuan just wanted to test his strength and didn't have any defense against his hood door. Bam! Zhao Dehan's eyes bulged out. His body retreated continuously. Unable to control his own huge body, he fell on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. All the energy in his body dissipated, unable to release it in a short period of time. Lin Yuan sneered. "So this is innate divine power? Natural trash is more like that." Disdain was written all over his face. He looked at Yang Dao with eyes full of ridicule and thought, "You want to be selected for the person you brought? It's almost like a dream. If it wasn't for your words, I would have been a disciple of the Sword Elf Mountain, and Luluashi might have been my woman. It's all because of you." Regarding this matter, the hatred in Lin Yuan's heart was extremely deep. Lin Yuan walked back to his seat and lightly said, "Unqualified next." He immediately wrote an insert on Zhao Dehan's name. The elder of Inner House above did not say a word, because they did not know that Lin Yuan had struck Zhao Dehan's door. They only saw Zhao Dehan being flung out. Naturally, he would not pass. Bailey Tianhai helped Zhao Dehan up. He was extremely furious and stared at Lin Yuan, but did not reveal it. "You came with me, right? Just you wait." Zhao Dehan stood up with some difficulty and said, "Second brother, I've disappointed you." Bailey Tianhai said, "It's fine. Second brother will take revenge for you later." After half a minute. Next, Bailey Tianhai. Bailey Tianhai walked forward. Long Fei warned, "Be careful." Bailey Tianhai nodded his head, and, walking to the side of the green stone with the blood vein, an outer disciple said to Bailey Tianhai, "Spirit blood, drop on the green stone." Bailey Tianhai moved his right hand, and with a flip, a drop of spirit blood fell from his palm. The green stone had been absorbed. Light flashed. It was also at this time. The disciple wanted to repeat the same trick again by suppressing the green stone with one palm. But Bailey Tianhai didn't give it a chance, as he placed one hand on the green stone. The disciple's eyes turned sinister as he snapped, "What are you doing?" Bailey Tianhai said, "I'll cast some magic on my spirit blood to make it stronger." The green light rose. Bam! 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 This meant that the blood vein's power had not completely awakened and could still be raised. If he hadn't fully awakened, then wouldn't that be even higher? The entire audience was stunned. Rank 9 blood vein, and it has not fully awakened. Damn, too fierce. It's actually a 9th level blood vein. If it was fully awakened, wouldn't that be the immortal stage blood vein? The first one is a 9th stage blood vein. The surroundings went into an uproar. At this moment, even Elder of Inner House raised his head and noticed Bailey Tian Hai. This was the first time they had paid attention to a disciple. Lin Yuan's eyes darkened. He was no longer happy. The expression of the outer sect disciple also secretly changed as he said, "Ninth stage of the blood vein, intermediate." A ninth-stage blood vein could only be considered above average in the ancient antiquity S, but it could not reach a high level. The disciple said, "Let's go to the talent display area." Bailey Tian Hai did not leave, but smiled slightly and said, "The spirit blood earlier was actually mine." As soon as he finished, the surroundings went into an uproar. The outer sect disciple was even more furious. "How dare you cheat?" Bailey Tian Hai said, "I did not cheat. I only tested Zhao Dahan's blood vein again." "What? Wasn't that Zhao Dahan just a third-stage blood vein? What's the situation? How did it become a ninth-level blood vein again? That's impossible, right? How long has it been? The blood vein's level increase. Is this fast?" The disciple shouted, "What nonsense are you spouting? There's no way the testing for the green stone could go wrong. Are you questioning the ancient antiquity?" A large hat was directly taken off. Bailey Tian Hai wasn't anxious in the slightest. He faintly smiled and said, "The one I question isn't the ancient antiquity. The one I question is you." That disciple's expression changed. "Brat, I don't know what you're talking about." Bailey Tian Hai said loudly, "I know everyone is confused. It is obviously a third-stage blood vein. How did it suddenly become a ninth-stage blood vein? Or should I say, cheating? If you think I'm cheating, then now, please clearly look at my blood vein's rank." At this moment, Bailey Tian Hai's right palm faced upwards, and a drop of water seeped out from Spirit Blood's palm. Spirit Blood descended and directly landed on the testing green stone. The green stone was absorbed by Spirit Blood, following immediately. The green light kept rising, one after another. The 7th section, the 8th section, Section 9, Section 10. You have already reached the Immortal Stage S, and you are still going crazy online. Section 13, Section 15. My God! Even Elder of Inner House stood up in unison as he looked excitedly at Bailey Tian Hai. Boom! Section 18. The green light stopped, but the light was still flickering and was unable to break through the 19th section due to some restriction, meaning that the blood vein's power had not fully awakened. If he awakened, his level would be even higher. If he were to break through 20 sections, he would be considered a holy vein. Yang Dao was also secretly nervous. "I never thought that the level of blood vein would actually be this high." Long Fei was also slightly shocked. Impressive. Of course, what was strong was not only the blood vein, but even more so, Bailey Tianhai's brain. Bailey Tian Hai said lightly, "Are you still questioning my cheating? If it was said that the 9th stage blood vein only attracted attention, then the 18th stage blood vein had caused a sensation in the heart of the Elder of Inner House." The weight of his voice was different now. Immediately, an elder immediately shouted, "What's going on?" That disciple was so scared that his face turned pale and he kneeled on the ground. "Elder, I too do not know." His gaze turned to Lin Yuan and asked for help. But who would have thought that Lin Yuan would leap out with a slash of a long sword? It directly pierced through his throat and said with a heavy voice, "I almost lost a genius in ancient antiquity." Damn it! The disciple's eyes were filled with rage as he fell to the ground, unable to rest in peace. Lin Yuan whispered into Bailey Tianhai's ears, "Kid, you want to play with me? See how I'll play you to death." He was only an outer court disciple, yet he killed him so easily. He was only an outer court disciple, yet he killed him so easily. Moreover, those outer door presbyter S didn't even dare to fart. The lives of outer sect disciples were like grass. It didn't matter if thousands or even tens of thousands of people died in one go, because in less than a year, there would be many outer sect disciples that would join the ancient antiquity. With regard to Lin Yuan suddenly striking out and killing, Elder of Inner House did not criticize him. "Fight with me. Watch how I play you to death." Lin Yuan sneered and walked back to his seat. Bailey Tian Hai slightly smiled. and said, "Let's see who plays who to death." He was not Lin Yuan's match in terms of cultivation level. If he reached the talent display stage and Lin Yuan made a move, he would lose as badly as Zhao Dehan. Bailey Tianhai's brain was like a high-speed computer, constantly pondering over every result. In just half a minute, he had already thought of more than 130 results. The best result would be, "Give up." An elder looked at Bailey Tianhai, who was in a daze, and said, "High-level blood vein. Go to the talent display stage and display your strongest talent." Bailey Tianhai said, "I give up." Huh? What did he say? Give up? Is he crazy? Is my brain filled with water? For a moment, everyone was stunned. Even the elder of Inner House did not understand. How could an 18th stage immortal stage blood vein give up on displaying its inherent skill? Elder of Inner House slightly said, "Young lad, why did you give up?" A of the 18th stage, this was a genius that only appeared once every 100 years. At the very least, in these 10 years, there hadn't been a single blood vein that had reached the 18th stage. Lin Yuan sneered, "Bastard. Giving up is your best choice." He was ready. As long as Bailey Tianhai felt that his inherent skill was on stage, he would personally test him and cripple him. Bailey Tianhai said indifferently, "Because no one has been able to detect my talent." This was a bit too crazy. This was the ancient antiquity. What kind of genius was there? He actually said such a thing. Everyone was startled, unavoidably feeling that Bailey Tianhai was a little arrogant. Elder of Inner House's gaze darkened. He was also a little unhappy as he asked, "Why do you say that?" Bailey Tianhai said, "There are many types of inherent skills, such as having strength, having elements, having demon beast-s. This kind of talent is easy to test, but my talent cannot be tested." The elder was even more curious. "What exactly is your talent?" Everyone was curious. Lin Yuan sneered and said, "He just doesn't have talent. He's just a piece of trash." Bailey Tianhai smiled. Zhao Dehan said, "Second brother is going to act tough." Long Fei was startled. Bailey Tianhai's eyes fiercely stared, and the aura on his body exploded. Wang, all the strength in his body flowed into his head. In that instant, a shadow appeared above his head. 8 pieces of moving software. Instantly, someone shouted, "Brain?" 8 pieces for brains. The human brain is divided into 2 parts, the left and the right. At this moment, those outer door presbyter S and elder of Inner House S were all so excited that they looked like they were seeing their own fathers. He was completely shocked. 4-brain genius. It's actually 4-brain genius. Ha! I never thought that a brainy genius that hasn't appeared in 1,000 years would actually appear. And it's even a 4-brain genius. Ha! Elder of Inner House became excited. For brains meant that his computational ability was astoundingly high. The 4-brain intelligence was an existence of supergods. 4 heads was not the main point of Bailey Tianhai's inherent skill. The main point was that his brain development rate was 2 times that of ordinary people, and it was still increasing. This brain, it was comparable to the existence of the system. Long Fei was also secretly surprised. As expected, it's still in my mouth. I'm going to take this brat for sure. Don't argue with me. Fuck, what do you mean by yes? I still need to make a decision. Who's fighting with me? Who's in a rush with me? Coincidentally, Main Hall needs a demon. Main Hall is so arrogant. Even if the sect master comes, I will not let him go. 4-brain genius was too rare. This kind of person's IQ could instantly kill a sect. If someone like him were to do the math, figure out a way, and do the deduction, would he not have to worry about getting stronger? It was just like opening a slate. This was not just a single person opening a trap, but a mountaintop opening a trap. How could he not go crazy? A few elder of Inner House S fought until their eyes were red and their necks were thick, just a little bit away from making a move. Bailey Tianhai's aura retracted, and he said indifferently, "Elders, do you think that there is anyone here that could detect my innate talent? The senior brother Lin from before? Not to mention trash, in front of me. His IQ can't even be compared to a pile of shit." Lin Yuan suddenly stood up and shouted, "Brat, what did you say?" You dare to say that again? Bailey Tianhai smiled slightly and said, Do you think what I said was wrong? Then do you dare to accept my test? Lin Yuan yelled and said, Am I afraid of you? The corner of Bailey Tianhai's mouth hooked up as he sneered in his heart. Listen carefully, what is his name? Bailey Tianhai casually pointing at a disciple who was waiting to take the test. Phoenix immediately said, Hubby, he's learning from you. Long Fei also laughed. Lin Yuan was startled and shouted angrily, How do I know his name? You call that a question? Bailey Tianhai said, You don't even know your own problems, yet you dare to accept? Is it wrong to say that you're a piece of trash or a pile of crap? Lin Yuan's face turned red, on the verge of exploding. Bailey Tianhai laughed again and again. Senior brother Lin, don't be angry. I was just messing around with you. Why are you so angry? All right, I have a few simple questions. If you can't answer this question, then you really are a piece of trash and a pile of shit. Without waiting for Lin Yuan to get angry, Bailey Tianhai said, What kind of cloth can't be cut? Lin Yuan was stunned. He looked at the people around him, and they too were at a loss. The people around him were the same. Even the elders were thinking about this problem. Is there still any cloth in the world that can't be cut? Could it be iron cloth? Or was the scissors not fast enough? It's impossible for there to be such a material. Long Fei said softly, What are you thinking? Waterfall. Phoenix looked at Long Fei and stared blankly for a moment. Lin Yuan shouted, Where in the world is there a cloth that can't be cut? Bailey Tianhai said, The waterfall cannot be cut. Lin Yuan was startled. Waterfall? Is waterfall also called boo-boo? Bailey Tianhai asked again, What melon can't be eaten? Long Fei said softly, Idiot. Phoenix looked at Long Fei with a face of worship, both her hands tightly held onto Long Fei's arm. Long Fei muttered, What's wrong? Phoenix giggled and said, Hubby, you're too smart. I'm worried that someone will steal you away. Long Fei laughed, scratched the nose of the phoenix, and said, Idiot. Lin Yuan held his breath again until his face was flushed red, his mind constantly thinking of all kinds of fruits. Looking at the few senior brother disciples around him, all of them had their heads lowered. I can't think of any. Let me give you a hint. Think about yourself. Bailey Tianhai said. Lin Yuan looked at himself and said angrily, There is no such thing. Bailey Tianhai said, Idiots cannot be eaten. I even gave you hints. I will let you see yourself. For people like you who have low IQ, I think even an idiot can't compare to you. Your intelligence evaluation is complete. Just as I expected, you're just a piece of trash with a pile of feces. Lin Yuan was furious. The flames of fury were burning. Being toyed with, Lin Yuan burned with anger. Being toyed with, Lin Yuan burned with anger. The muscles in the corner of his eyes twitched slightly. With a huala sound, he pulled out his long sword, and his aura instantly turned into an intimidating pressure, crushing everything in his way. Bailey Tianhai was merely in the sword sect realm, so he could not withstand the pressure of the master swordsman rank. Bailey Tianhai's body sank. What? Do we have to make a move just because we can't beat him? So what? You actually dared to tease this young master? I'll take your dog life. The sword moved, about to stab between Bailey Tianhai's eyebrows. When the sword pierced through, Bailey Tianhai's life was definitely gone. Zhao Dahan's face changed. He wanted to rush up, but his strength had been scattered, and he had not recovered yet. Moreover, even if he rushed forward, it would be useless. He was also not Lin Yuan's match. Young master, Zhao Dahan said. Yang Dao's expression also became anxious. Only Long Fei remained calm and said softly, Don't worry, Tianhai will be fine. Whether or not Bailey Tianhai's martial power was strong, he relied on his brain to survive. Once he ascended the talent display stage, he would be defeated by Lin Yuan before his inherent skill could even be displayed. At that time, even if he was an 18-stage immortal stage blood vein, it would not garner much attention. It was different now. He had already displayed his 4 brain talents. Furthermore, it had also attracted the competition of the Elder of Inner House S. This way, If Lin Yuan wanted to make a move against him in front of so many Elder of Inner House S, it would be different. When Lin Yuan's sword came out, one of the Elder of Inner House bellowed, "Stop!" A loud boom echoed out. Lin Yuan's sea of consciousness shook violently. However, Lin Yuan did not stop. He was the direct disciple of the King of Beasts and was deeply in love with him. Even if he killed Lin Yuan, he would be all right with the protection of the King of Beasts. The key was, Bailey Tianhai had to die. Therefore, he did not estimate that the Elder of Inner House would scold him like this, and still acted on his own, thrusting out with his sword. This caused the Elder of Inner House to lose a lot of face. His eyes became angry, and he bellowed, "I said stop! Did you not hear me? Rumble!" His words released a mighty pressure. A thin layer of frost covered the surrounding 1,000 meters like the roar of a mad lion. As he spoke, he also covered the surrounding area. His face was thick with frost. Long Fei's pupils contracted. Damn, what about Qing Ji's fruit power? Ice-type power. Very strong. A roar that carried the power of ice could be heard. This wasn't just an ice attribute, but also a power fusion of sound. The area within 1,000 meters was covered in frost, and the temperature plummeted. What incredible strength! Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. Lin Yuan's body was completely frozen, nailed in place without moving an inch. The elder of the Beast Mountain Range stood up and said, "Brother Qin, there is no need to be so angry, right? Just now, killing an outer disciple was one thing, but now he wants to kill an outer disciple with the physique of an ancient ability. What does he want to do? You think that you can do whatever you want just because you're the disciple of the King of Beasts? This is the ancient antiquity, not a place of chaos." Qin Wanchong spoke in a heavy tone. The Beast Mountain Elder nodded his head and said, "Brother Qin is right. Lin Yuan is too reckless. I will definitely punish him when we return to the Beast Mountain." Look, Qin Wancheng retracted his anger. Even the elder of the first mountain was like this, so he didn't say anything else. Let him remember then. And then, he retracted his aura. Just now, his entire body had been frozen solid. If not for the fact that Qin Wancheng still had some energy left in him, he might have already died. He then turned and bowed as he said, "This disciple will definitely remember the teachings of my dear Elder Qin, and will never forget them." Qin Wancheng was also remembered in his words. He would definitely get his revenge. Qin Wancheng didn't mind. He looked at Lin Yuan and said lightly, "Little brother, are you interested in joining my everlasting peak? No matter what you wish to cultivate, I will provide it with my full power." He wanted Bailey Tianhai to join the absolute peak of the formation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to offend the Beast Mountain to help Bailey Tianhai. Bailey Tianhai bowed and said, "Thank you, Elder, for saving me, and thank you, Elder, for showing kindness. But I am a sword cultivator and would like to join Sword Elf Mountain." "Ha!" Sword Elf Mountain immediately laughed. "Brat, you have good eyes. You should join Sword Elf Mountain for your sword practice. My Sword Elf Mountain just so happens to need people like you." "Ha ha!" He looked at Qin Wancheng and laughed complacently. Qin Wancheng looked at Bailey Tianhai with displeasure as he sat back down on his seat. He probably hated Bailey Tianhai to death. Bailey Tianhai also knew this in his heart, but even if he was to be hated, he had to enter the Sword Elf Mountain. It had to be known that Lu Luoxi was the one who entered the Sword Elf Mountain, the one who got the moon near the water tower. He did not want to go to another peak, because he would lose a lot of opportunities this way. Phoenix pouted and said, "Hubby, is he really going to pursue that beautiful big sister fairy? Die by 100 li. If he dares to dig your corner, I'll definitely show him who's boss." Long Fei laughed. He couldn't say anything about Lu Luoxi because he was unable to confirm that Lu Luoxi was his woman. However, he believed it. If it was one of his women, then it didn't matter if it was with a hoe or with a shovel. His woman would only go crazy for him, and no one would be able to touch her. Lin Yuan returned to his seat, looked at Bailey Tianhai, and thought to himself, Sword Elf Mountain, right? Coincidentally, there are a few of my brothers over there. Offending me, it will be hard for you to even move an inch in ancient antiquity. "All right, next, Long Fei." Outer door presbyter called out his name. Phoenix's face was filled with excitement as she said, "Hubby, I'll be taking you as your master. Let me intimidate everyone." Long Fei laughed, regarding his own blood vein. He knew it was strong. How could Long Baishan's ancient dragon body not be strong? Moreover, his blood vein might not be limited to just these. But his blood vein had never been detected before, and in his memories, his spirit blood had tested it many times, but none of the testing divine stones were able to detect his level of blood vein. Looking at the excited expression on Phoenix's face, Long Fei said in a bland voice, "I might have to disappoint you." Yang Dao patted Long Fei's shoulders and said, "Relax, don't be nervous. Whatever it is, I believe in you." Zhao Dehan gave a heavy shout as well. "Boss, do your best." Long Fei walked forward. If it was another outer sect disciple, his eyes would be much more respectful, because he knew that if he was a little bit careless, he might offend the future intersect senior brother S. So he said very seriously, "Junior brother, condense a drop of spirit blood onto the divine stone." Long Fei nodded, and with a move of his palm, a drop of spirit blood's blood fell onto the green divine stone. Spirit blood was sucked in. Long Fei did not hold much hope. He knew what the result would be. However, this time, it was a little unexpected. Boom! With an explosive sound, a glaring green light shot out from the god stone. Compliment. The strong light was glaring, exploding out from the first section. The green light released from the god stone was like a beam of light, enveloping everything within a radius of a few kilometers. The strong light was glaring, exploding out from the first section. The green light released from the god stone was like a beam of light, enveloping everything within a radius of a few kilometers. Everyone was shocked. Those elder of Inner House S also stopped quarreling, their gazes all focused on the test god stone. All of them were stunned. What's going on? I've never met one. How can there be such a strong light? And it's even the first round? Have you been in this situation before? Even the elder of Inner House had never encountered such a unique situation. The stronger the light, the higher the grade. Logically speaking, the light that should have burst out from the divine stone should have been the result of Long Fei's blood vein as being at a very high level. But the light only stopped at the first section. It did not rise. Just one section. This made the elders even more confused. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Outer door presbyter was even more confused. For a moment, everyone looked at Long Fei. The disciple beside the divine stone said submissively, "Junior brother, this spirit blood is? Is it because the purity is not high enough? Why don't you try again?" Long Fei himself was a little surprised. In the past, when he was testing the level of blood vein, he basically could not detect anything. He also wanted to know the rank of his blood vein. Immediately, Long Fei nodded and said, "All right." Another drop of spirit blood's drop fell. This time, Long Fei looked at the divine stone seriously. The strange scene happened again. This time, there was no reaction at all from the testing stone. It was as if it had not absorbed any blood vein. There was not even the slightest reaction, not even a single bit of green light was emitted. The last time was when divine light burst forth. This time, there was nothing. Everyone was stunned again. An elder said in disdain, "What nonsense is this? If the divine light flourished, even a single section would attract their attention. However, there wasn't even a single beam of light." What did this mean? This meant that the blood veins level was unstable. This was also known as the trash blood vein. It was impossible to control, and it was also impossible to unleash the power of the blood vein. Sometimes good and sometimes bad. This was a taboo for cultivation. Another elder laughed. "Looks like it's a trash blood vein. This is the first time I've encountered this kind of blood vein. It might be very strong in the first second, but it'll become trash in the next second. This kind of blood vein is uncontrollable and won't be of any use at all. Yeah. It's not even once in 1,000 years for the four-brain genius, and it's even less once in 10,000 years for this trash blood vein. He can be considered a weirdo." Ha ha! Many people began to laugh. Lin Yuan said, "What kind of person bring what kind of person? Isn't Yang Dao just an old trash who brought trash? He's brought along trash that hasn't been seen in 10,000 years. Yang Dao, you really do give face to ancient antiquity." Lin Yuan ruthlessly mocked. Yang Dao's eyes darkened. Long Fei also sneered. His heart was filled with disdain. He did not argue for himself. He also did not have the power to prove that his blood vein possessed. However, an elder said a lot of things. Long Fei was indeed unable to control the power within blood vein, but not when it was strong or when it was weak, but when it was strong, it would be stronger, and the strength of the blood vein had never been weak. Yang Dao looked at Long Fei as he walked forward and said, "Don't be discouraged. You still have talent display to show." Phoenix was also looking at Long Fei. Her two large eyes were staring straight at Long Fei, but she did not say anything. He looked to be deep in thought, looking at Long Fei. Then looking at the testing godstone, he muttered to himself, "Such a low-level testing godstone, even his blood vein wouldn't be bothered to be tested. Hubby's blood vein has its own consciousness, the level of this blood vein. I knew Aunt had this kind of blood vein." No one heard her voice. No one would understand, even if they heard it, much less believe it. The blood vein had spiritual awareness? Possessing his own consciousness? Was this a story? It was impossible. Even blood vein had a consciousness. What kind of concept was that? Impossible. Long Fei only knew that his own blood vein's power contained a very strong power. He was unable to detect it, but he did not know that his own blood vein had an independent awareness. Blood vein disdained to be tested by this divine stone. Thus, there were many times when Long Fei would test his own blood vein, but he did not find any results. Is there a need to display your inherent skill as a waste blood vein? Lin Yuan sneered. A piece of trash like you doesn't need to waste our time. You're right. Next, don't waste everyone's time. This time Elder of Inner House did not say anything. Even if a trash blood vein had talent, it would still be trash talent and would not be of any use at all. Yang Dao fought for his life. Elder, his blood vein level is indeed not high, but his talent is extraordinary. I hope Elder can give him a chance. Yang Dao regarded Long Fei very highly. Amongst the three of them, the one he was most optimistic about was Long Fei. It was just that the power emitted from Long Fei's body had not been fully awakened, so it could not be seen. Lin Yuan laughed. Yang Dao, you are a piece of trash. Do you think we are trash as well? If his inherent skill is not ordinary, then why is his cultivation still in the apprentice realm? I'm just asking, is there anyone here who has a realm lower than his? It was loud. All the disciples shook their heads. Only in the apprentice realm? I'm already in the big swordsman realm. How dare he, a mere apprentice realm, come to this place to select? He's not sleepwalking, is he? Isn't the realm of the apprentice a bit too useless? Ha ha, he really dares to come. The weakest are all big swordsmen. Amongst these exam candidates, Long Fei's realm was the lowest. 8th-stage apprentice. This was all thanks to Long Fei's hard work in the past 2 days in refined space, cultivating and making a breakthrough. But this was the lowest realm here. Bailey Tianhai said, "Elder, he is my big brother. Can you give him a chance?" Bailey Tianhai also began to plead. The weight of his voice was different now. Lin Yuan said, "Today there are a lot of people testing us, so let's not waste time." The elder from the Sword Elf Mountain said lightly, "Lin Yuan is right. I think we should forget about it." Bailey Tianhai said, "Elder, my big brother will definitely not disappoint you. I hope that you can give him a chance." He had seen Long Fei unleash his power before. He knew that his talent was extraordinary, but he just missed a chance to show off. The Sword Elf Mountain Elder looked displeased and said, "His cultivation is too low. If his talent is good, his cultivation would not be so low. Forget about it." Bailey Tianhai said, "If you don't give him the chance, I will give up and enter the Sword Elf Mountain." If you don't give him a chance, I will give up the chance to enter the Sword Elf Mountain. If you don't give him a chance, I will give up the chance to enter the Sword Elf Mountain. Bailey Tianhai said with a serious face. Long Fei stared blankly at him for a moment, then immediately said, Tian Hai, don't speak nonsense. Hurry up and take back your words. Yang Dao was also worried, and hurriedly explained, Elder, he's still a child. Don't take emotions to heart. The clan elders of the Sword Elf Mountain were not happy to see him. He had not even entered the Sword Elf Mountain. Yet he already dared to ask for his help. This made him very unhappy. This sentence made him even angrier. If not for the fact that Bailey Tianhai was a four-brain genius, he would have scolded him already. He narrowed his eyes and said, I pretended I didn't hear what you just said. Don't say any more. Do you understand? Anger burned in his eyes. Bailey Tianhai had already touched his bottom line. Long Fei immediately pulled Bailey Tianhai back and said, Don't say any more. Even if I don't have talent to show, I will still pass the intersect examination and enter. Don't give up your future. Offending Lin Yuan was not a big deal, but knowing that it was an elder of Inner House was different. Moreover, Bailey Tianhai had just offended Qin Wansheng, and if he knew about the clan elders of the Sword Elf Mountain, would he still be able to enter the intersect in the future? Bailey Tianhai's personality was also firm and resolute, and he said, Boss, we have sworn brothers before. We share both honor and disgrace, and also share misfortune and blessings. If you can't even enter the intersect, then what's the point of me entering it alone? How boring. And then, Bailey Tianhai shouted once again, If you don't agree, I will give up and enter the Sword Elf Mountain. Just as he finished speaking, the elder of the Sword Elf Mountain shouted, Impudent. The rage raged. At the same moment, the ground began to move as if a monster was about to break out from the ground. Yang Dao immediately replied, Please calm your anger, elder. Without waiting for Yang Dao to finish speaking, the elders of the Sword Elf Mountain glared at him. Plop! Yang Dao was crushed to the point of kneeling on the ground, his face pale white, unable to say a single word. Bailey Tianhai frowned. Long Fei squinted. The Sword Elf Mountain elder continued. What do you think the ancient antiquity is? What do you think the Sword Elf Mountain is? Do you really think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the talent to do so? Kid, this is the ancient antiquity. Do you understand? His voice was filled with rage and might. Bailey Tianhai did not give in, and said, Of course I know this is the ancient antiquity, so it should be even more so, just because of his blood vein level. How preposterous! The Sword Elf Mountain elder was extremely angry. She didn't think that Bailey Tianhai would still dare to argue. Lin Yuan found the appropriate timing to interrupt and said, Your sight is above his. He did not even put all of the elders in his eyes. And just now, Elder Qin was doing the same. Now Elder Yu is also doing the same. This kind of person who has no respect for his elders is not fit to join the ancient antiquity. Lin Yuan laughed crazily in his heart. He thought that it was certain that Bailey Tianhai would enter the inner sect, since four-brain genius was rare, but he never expected such a thing to happen. He was extremely pleased with himself. Lin Yuan's fire had indeed displeased many elder of Inner House, especially the elder of the Sword Elf Mountain. The anger in his eyes grew even stronger. He stared at Bailey Tianhai and said, Are you still insisting on this? Bailey Tianhai said, This is a chance my big brother should have. Long Fei wanted to stop him, but Bailey Tianhai had also gotten angry and refused to listen to his words. Long Fei also dared to make a move in his heart. With such a brother, what else could he say? To share life and death, to share misfortune and blessings. All right, the Sword Elf Mountain elder replied heavily. Immediately, a violent rumble came from the ground. Rumble. The examinees began to shake. The Sword Elf Mountain elder said solemnly, From now on, you are no longer Sword Elf Mountain's disciple, and you should forget about entering the inner sect for the rest of your life. If anyone has a subordinate, then they will be irreconcilable with my Sword Elf Mountain. Anger Sword, how could a mere disciple dare to contradict him like this just because he had some talent? If he didn't show some respect, then how would he, an elder, continue to be like this? Many of the elder of Inner House S did not say a word. Sword Elf Mountain was the strongest in the ancient antiquity, he did not dare to offend them. Moreover, in the hearts of elder of inner house like them, it was indeed a little too much for Bailey Tionhai to stand up for a trash. Bailey Tionhai frowned. Then how about my big brother's chance to showcase his talent? The Sword Elf Mountain laughed coldly and said, "No, we don't waste our time on a piece of trash." Bailey Tianhai's gaze darkened, as he also wanted to get angry. The Sword Elf Mountain Elder was already enraged. If he were to retort again at this time, the result would probably be his death. Long Fei heavily pulled Bailey Tianhai back, walked up, and said, "I accept all the arrangements." Bailey Tianhai looked at Long Fei and said, "Big brother." Long Fei said, "I'm fine. Isn't it just not giving me the chance to show my talent? If I don't show it, then so be it. It's not like I have any talent anyway." Long Fei's heart was filled with anger. He really wanted to directly wipe them all out. However, if this was the case, then he would cut off Bailey Tianhai's and his future, and he would also let Yang Dao receive a heavy punishment. It might even reveal Phoenix's whereabouts. At a time like this, he had to endure. Be it laughed at, be it called trash, or be crushed by the powerhouse. He believed that he would be able to take revenge for everything that had happened today. Because he was Long Fei. He ate everything, but he never suffered a loss. Yang Dao was also relieved. He was glad that Long Fei was calm. If Long Fei did not stop Bailey Tianhai, Sword Elf Mountain's elder, you would definitely kill him. As long as nothing happened, they still had a chance, even if they weren't chosen by the inner sect. Since he couldn't enter the inner sect, he would start from the outer sect. Yu Zhangkong coldly glanced at Long Fei. In his heart, he hated Bailey Tianhai even more than before. It was precisely because of this trash Long Fei that he lost his talent. Yu Zhangkong clenched his fists tightly, feeling extremely displeased in his heart. Lin Yuan was the happiest one. None of the people Yang Dao brought were chosen. As long as he didn't enter the inner court, he, an inner court disciple, would be able to crush everything within the outer court. Just like when he killed an outer court disciple earlier, he could do whatever he wanted. Yang Dao, you old trash, you still want to gift someone to the ancient antiquity? I want all the people you brought here to die here. Just you wait. This is just the beginning, haha. Lin Yuan laughed crazily in his heart. Outer door presbyter replied heavily. Next, Lu Feng, Long Fei, and the rest left. Long Fei said to Bailey Tianhai, "You're too reckless. Elder Yang, can you see if you can find some connections and make Tianhai admit his wrongs and enter the inner court?" Bailey Tianhai immediately rejected. Such an inner sect is not interesting at all. Big brother, us three brothers will enter the ancient antiquity together. What's the point of me entering the inner sect by myself? I might as well go with you guys. Just like you said, we three brothers will work hard together in the outer sect. Let's see who can stop us. The selection later on became boring. Of the thousands of people, only 8 were chosen. Every person who was able to come here was a genius, so the conditions for choosing a genius were even more harsh. The 8 people chosen were all ancient elites with extraordinary strength. They directly entered the inner court and became high and mighty inner court disciples, causing the exam disciples and the outer court disciples to be incomparably envious. Entering the inner court could be said to be the dream of every outer court disciple. Only by truly entering the inner sect could one be considered to have entered the ancient antiquity and the outer sect. It was like a hodgepodge. Cultivation resources were scarce, so cultivation techniques, elixirs, and holy source stones were all the lowest level common streets. Not only that, every outer sect disciple had to complete some missions issued by the sect every month. These missions basically served the inner sect. Sweep the courtyard, search for spirit grass, search for a certain demon beast trace, collect some unknown domains information, inquire about other sects information, etc. Over the course of a long period of time, just these tasks alone could extinguish a person's fighting spirit. Not many people could still remember their ambitions when they first entered the ancient antiquity, and not many could still risk their lives without hesitation. All of them had withered in the outer sect, erosion, and then disappear into the world. All of the outer court disciples were never taken seriously, and not a single inner court disciple noticed this, so they were unable to enter the inner court. These outer court disciples were like trash that had been branded on their bodies. He would never be able to get up. It was forgotten. Even so, not many people were willing to leave this place because the identity of an outer court disciple of the ancient antiquity. The outer sect might not be much. However, in the outside world, their status was extremely honorable. As for their families, because of their status, they would be able to stand tall. Once they lost that status, they would definitely be suppressed. Whether or not they could survive in this world was a problem. And then again, there would always be a little bit of hope here and a little bit of opportunity there. The intersect examination was held once a year. Once you pass, you can also enter the intersect. However, in these 100 years, there had not been a single person who had passed the intersect examination. Many people believe that the intersect examination was just a hope for the outer sect, a hope that could never be realized. All right, the three of you will be living here from now on. This is your identity plates, so keep it well. If you lose it, you won't be able to make up for it. Remember, you need to complete the sect's 3 missions in a month. You can freely control the rest of the time. Then that's it. An inner disciple brought Long Fei and the other 2 to a dilapidated courtyard. The courtyard was covered by straw, and half of it had already collapsed. The yard was also filled with all sorts of weeds. For at least 10 years, no one had lived here. Bailey Tianhai could not help but ask, "Is this also a place that humans live in? Why can everyone live in a courtyard? We only have this kind of thatched courtyard." Someone else? Others are others. You are all them. Don't you see who you have offended, and even dare to offend the elder of Inner House? Do you think you can continue staying here? We'll talk about it later. If others want to live in a good house, that is because they gave you money. If you want to live in a good house, that is fine too. The disciple said arrogantly. Bailey Tianhai asked, "Why do I see them giving us 10 holy source stones so that we can have 50? That disciple said, "It's because you have offended the elder of Inner House that you must pay 50 holy source stones, and not even a month." 50 a month? It didn't seem like much, but to the 3 of them, it was an astronomical figure. Moreover, cultivating required holy source stones, and even if there was, cultivation was of utmost importance. Zhao Dahan scratched his head. "How do we have that many holy source stones?" The disciple laughed. "You can write down the accounts first. Each of you has a monthly rule of 10 holy source stones. You can first pay 30 each month, and the rest can be exchanged for spirit stones. With 3 of them together, it should be possible." They were going to squeeze all 3 of them dry. Long Fei said, "Forget it. I think this place is pretty good too. It is quiet, with no one disturbing us. It is very suitable for quiet cultivation." "TCH," that disciple disdainfully said. "You can tell from one look that he came from the countryside." Zhao Dahan asked, "Senior brother, what about our monthly record for this month? I think they've already sent it. Where's ours?" The disciple laughed coldly and said, "The rent of this house is 30 holy source stones." Zhao Dahan said, "Don't you have more cultivation pills?" The disciple said, "Spirit pellet? What spirit pill? Why didn't I know? If you want some spirit dawn, go to Elder Chun. I don't have any here." Then that's it. With that, he left. After walking a few steps, he stopped and looked at them with contempt. "As your senior brother S, I need to remind you that offending intersex senior brother S is very deadly. Not only did you offend the intersex senior brother S, you also offended them. Otherwise, within 3 days, you will all die. Of course, if you want to stay here, then contact your family and ask them to send more holy source stones over. It's easy to do business here with money. As long as you have money, you can settle a lot of things." "Understood." After which, he left in big strides. Bailey Tianhai spoke harshly to the disciples in the distance. "I understand your mother. This is bullying." Phoenix also muttered with her small mouth as she looked at Long Fei and said, "I have." Long Fei glared at her, but Phoenix did not say anything more. When they were in Neon City, the Phoenix had taken out 10,000 holy source stones before. However, this kind of rare source stone would definitely arouse suspicion. Long Fei did not want to take this risk before he became strong. Long Fei said, God's general has always given great responsibility to sages. They must first have a hard time, starve their flesh and blood, then do whatever they want. Thus, they must not act rashly. Thus, they cannot be used to increase their endurance. The three of them looked at Long Fei with stupefied expressions. Even the four-brain geniuses Bailey Tianhai looked at Long Fei blankly and said, What do you mean? Long Fei laughed. You're still in four-brain genius. You don't even understand the meaning behind those words. I think your IQ is less than 5. What melon cannot be eaten? What cloth scissors do not stop? If you can even ask this kind of question, then what are those thoughts of yours? Bailey Tianhai laughed awkwardly. Long Fei said, All right, let's clean up. From today onwards, this is our home in ancient antiquity. Our dream, our goal will begin from here. Even so, so be it. Even so, so be it. Elder of inner house, outer door presbyter, mother of asterisk her. I refuse to believe that a dignified four-brain genius like me won't be able to survive in ancient antiquity. Just you wait. Wait for Lousy to trample all these people under my feet. I want to see who dares to oppose us. Bailey Tianhai said angrily. He complained as he worked. He was always toying with others in the Sea City, but to be targeted in the ancient antiquity, he was very unhappy. Long Fei said, I already told you not to stick your head out, but you just wouldn't listen. Bailey Tianhai said, Big brother, us three brothers have come to ancient antiquity together. You guys can't enter the inner sect. What's the point of me going alone? I just don't like them. An inner core disciple is extraordinary. Elder of inner house is impressive. I don't believe that I, Bailey Tianhai, cannot handle them. Having sworn brothers meant that they were brothers. Bailey Tianhai was only one friend in the Sea City, and now that there was one more Long Fei, he was very concerned about this brotherly relationship. Long Fei felt the same way in his heart. No one would choose to give up on entering the inner sect and suffer with them in the outer sect. Inner court was equivalent to reaching the heavens in one step. In the outer sect, not only did they have to look at others' faces, they had to receive all sorts of unfair treatment. It was also extremely difficult for them to enter the inner sect. This was what a true brother should be like. Bailey Tianhai muttered, What a pity. Senior Sister Lu, wait for me. I will definitely enter the Sword Elf Mountain. I will definitely chase you down. Her eyes were filled with infatuation. Phoenix pouted and said, She is a woman my husband has his eyes on. You cannot touch her. Bailey Tianhai said, Although we are brothers, this woman is fair in terms of competition. I will not let you. Ha ha ha. You idiot. If it was you, would you let me? Zhao Dahan scratched his head, saying, Me doesn't know. Ha ha. Everyone laughed. Long Fei also laughed. This was a good life. The three of them tidied up the house after an entire afternoon. It was very shabby, but at least right now, it looked like a house by itself. The three of them sat on the steps. All of them were covered in filth. Phoenix held on a Long Fei's shoulder and gave him a massage. Her small hand squeezed just right, and it felt very comfortable. Long Fei had a face full of enjoyment as he said, We've settled in. Now we're planning on how to survive in the outer sect. The outer court test wasn't held immediately. It happened once a year as well, and only those with sufficient points were qualified to participate. For example, not only did Long Fei and the other two offend the Elder of Inner House, they even got 0 points, so they didn't have the qualifications to participate. Bailey Tianhai said, Yesterday, I heard from Elder Yang that the time of the examination was 3 months, but if one wants to participate, they must have at least 300 sect points to register. 300 points is not a small number. His task credit is incredibly small, and he even has to do missions for the sect for free. It's impossible to gather all 300 points without spending more than half a year. And this is even with the victory of the mission. No more than 100 senior brothers in the entire outer sect possess 300 points. They have all accumulated for a year or even a few years. If one wanted to take the exam, one had to have 300 sect points. Furthermore, these were only registration points. Once they were registered, They would be deducted immediately and would not be returned. There was only one way to obtain sect points, and that was to complete missions. Completing the mission would grant you points, and the harder the mission, the more points you would get. Long Fei said, 3 months, 900 points. Zhao Dahan scratched his head. Big brother, second brother, you guys enter the inner sect. I will be fine later. Long Fei immediately said, what are you saying? Us 3 brothers will enter together. Bailey Tianhai replied, that's right. You are not my servant, and even more so, not my subordinate. You are my brother now, understand? Zhao Dahan giggled. Long Fei said, we must definitely participate in the assessment, but we must quickly become stronger within the next 3 months. Bailey Tianhai's gaze tightened and said, I want to become strong. No matter how sharp your brain is, you won't be able to withstand a punch. Today, I finally understand. Strength is everything. Only having brains and no martial arts is still nothing but trash. In the past, I did not care much in the Sea City, and my cultivation was not high either. No one could play with me, but I understand now in the ancient antiquity. Not only Bailey Tianhai, Zhao Dahan too, clenched his fists tightly. Someone had discovered his hood door, and it was impossible to defend against it. This meant that he was still not strong enough. Long Fei said, before we charge into the inner sect, we must make ourselves strong enough to begin planning our training from tomorrow onwards. If you wish to complete the sect mission, you must not fall behind in your training. The 3 of us will take turns. Every day, 2 people will come out with a mission, and 1 person will stay behind to cultivate. This way, I can buy more time. Bailey Tianhai said, sure, I will write out the cultivation strategy first tonight. Just follow my instructions and cultivate. It will be much faster than normal. He eats with his head. He had never been serious before, but this time, to break through to the inner court in 3 months was simply impossible. The more difficult it was, the more serious Bailey Tianhai became. Although his cultivation was not high, he had done a lot of research on cultivation. He knew how to maximize the amount of energy that he could absorb. Phoenix giggled and said, I will be in charge of washing and cooking for you, cleaning the courtyard, and being in charge of your logistics. Bailey Tianhai laughed. How virtuous. Phoenix laughed. Long Fei also laughed. For the time being, there shouldn't be any danger here, and Phoenix is safer here. Moreover, those black-clothed men would never have thought that Phoenix had actually entered the ancient antiquity. Goo-goo, gulp. When it came to cooking, Phoenix's stomach growled uncontrollably. She covered her stomach with one hand and said, I'm so hungry. At this moment, Zhao Dahan's stomach also rumbled as he laughed awkwardly. I'm hungry too. Gulp. Bailey Tianhai grinned and said, I do have some. I haven't eaten anything in a few days. Gulp. Long Fei's stomach also rumbled, and he said, ha-ha. This time it's my stomach. Ha-ha. The 4 of them burst out laughing at the same time. He was laughing very happily. Long Fei had not laughed so happily in a long time either. Not far away, a few outer sect disciples stood on top of a pavilion and looked at Long Fei's small courtyard. Senior Brother Ma, that's them. Senior Brother Lin Yuan said to make it difficult for the outer sect disciples to move an inch. The leader of the group was a tall man. His muscles bulged beneath his robes like chunks of stone. His eyes narrowed slightly as he laughed coldly. Just a few of them? It's too simple. Night fell. Night fell. Long Fei did not rest. He sat cross-legged as the idea entered the refined space. The time in refined space was very slow. There were only 10 days inside and only 1 day outside. In terms of cultivation, this was like a holy artifact. Huff, the 8th stage of Apprentice. 2 more levels before triggering the system's instance dungeon. If only I had holy source stones. Training is much faster. Long Fei muttered in his heart, but did not think much further, and entered the sword sect space to cultivate. The apprentice realm mainly focused on body refinement. With the body as the center, the best way to temper the body was to continuously temper it and squeeze out its potential. Only by letting this potential erupt would one be able to break through. In the space, Long Fei kept pushing himself. The refined space was very sharp. There were all kinds of equipment, and they would appear whenever Long Fei wanted to. Carrying the barbell on his body, Long Fei squatted and jumped while sitting on the frog. At the same time, his body was still absorbing the spirit energy from the training space. As he refined his body, he also led the spirit. After an hour, Long Fei did not rest for even a second. He was continuously pressing himself down. For hours passed. 6 hours passed. Long Fei used all his might to beat himself up. Boom. 5 hours later, it was as if a gate had been opened within his body. Immediately, he felt his body become much lighter and lighter. His strength increased. The holy source in his body suddenly became rich. Huff! Long Fei let out a deep breath, and the system chimed in. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up, currently at the 9th stage of Apprentice. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the upgrade reward, a 2nd grade Holy Source Stone. Every time they leveled up, there would be a reward. The higher the level, the better the reward. Long Fei looked at the 2nd stage Holy Source Stone and became excited. The reward this time is pretty good. It's actually a Holy Source Stone. I just happen to be in need of it right now. At this moment, Phoenix walked out of her room and saw Long Fei cultivating. She muttered to herself, Hubby, I'm so hungry. My husband is training so hard. I have to find some food for him. Their cultivation bases were still not high enough, far from reaching the level of fasting, and they still needed food to replenish their strength. Long Fei opened his eyes, looked at the Phoenix and asked, Are you hungry? Phoenix was stunned. She asked, Hubby, did I disturb your training? Long Fei laughed. No, I just finished training. He stood up. Although he had leveled up, and his health point and Holy Source S were all full, his body needed to replenish its energy. There was no food in his stomach. Phoenix nodded and said, Yes, I'm hungry. My stomach hurts. Long Fei scratched her nose and said, Let's go. I'll bring you to eat delicious food. Phoenix muttered, We don't have money. Hubby, how about I? Without waiting for her to finish speaking, Long Fei immediately said, No. Oh. Phoenix lowered her head and pouted. She felt useless. She clearly had a lot of Holy Source Stones on her body, and it was of a rare quality 10,000 times better than normal Holy Source Stones. They couldn't do anything for Long Fei and the others. Long Fei smiled slightly, took out the 2nd grade Holy Source Stone rewarded by the system, and said, I'm rich. I'll take you to eat something delicious. This was originally used by him to attack the swordsman rank. However, no matter how precious Holy Source Stones were, they were not as precious as Phoenix. The Phoenix looked at the Holy Source Stone in Long Fei's hands and asked, You, how did you get the Holy Source Stone? Long Fei laughed. I hid it. Phoenix said, I'll go call them. Long Fei said, They shouldn't be sleeping just because they are cultivating. The things that happened today are rather tiring. It's good that we pack them up. Bailey Tianhai looked like he did not care, as everything depended on his brain. This was not the case. Long Fei could tell that Bailey Tianhai was extremely hardworking. Even if he was a genius, even if his mind was developed, he had actually put in a great deal of effort to make others look relaxed. Zhao Dahan was even more so. Every time he saw Zhao Dahan, he would think of the King Kong Li Yuanba and the kind of thing that would force him to death. 8 King Kong. I wonder where you are? Long Fei looked at the stars in the sky, pulled the Phoenix and said, Let's go. Long Fei and Phoenix had just left the courtyard. Someone immediately reported from the pavilion. Ma Dongqiao put down the wine cup, opened his mouth, and said, You're out? 2 have already been sent out. Ma Dongqiao laughed. All right, let me know after we determine their seats. The inner disciples of the ancient antiquity were divided into 7 peaks, 10,000 miles away. However, in the outer court, it was at the foot of the mountain range, and it was like a huge city. Everything here. There were even more markets and shops in the city. Of course, there were also midnight snacks. The outer sect doors never closed because many disciples went on missions at night, and many people came back at night. Whether they went out or came back, many people liked to drink a cup and fill their stomachs. On the road to the outer sect, there were many pedestrians, and on their chests, there were many ancient antiquity disciples. Even in the middle of the night, there were quite a few people. This surprised Long Fei. Seems like there are quite a few people in the outer sect. Phoenix sniffed the air and said, "Roast meat. It's the fragrance of meat. Hubby, there's meat in front." Long Fei watched in a daze. If the surrounding buildings weren't ancient, he really would have thought that he had come back here, exactly like the night market on Earth in his previous life. "Senior brother, do you want to eat something? We have grilled beast meat here, as well as fresh demon beast meat. All of it has blood on it, so it's a great supplement." "Senior brother, my roasted meat is tier 2 demon beast. It's even more nourishing. I still have a 3rd grade demon beast here." All the food in the roadside stall consisted mainly of barbecue. There was another way to eat it raw, which was even more expensive. This was because the demon beast meat had to be eaten raw not long ago. Otherwise, the profound chi in the flesh would run out. Furthermore, it was extremely hard to swallow, and there was no nutrition. However, the price of raw food was much higher. Look, it's a rank 3 Scarlet Fox. Wow, they actually managed to capture a grade 3 Scarlet Fox infant alive. It's a 3rd rank demon beast. It's a young beast again. It's a great tonic. I offer 10 holy source stones. Not far away, a barbecue stall took out a special kind of cage. Inside the cage was a crimson red fox cub. It was extremely scared as it circled around the cage and let out a series of frightened cries. The phoenix, who was initially choosing meat, immediately attracted the attention of everyone as it pulled Long Fei and squeezed forward. A level 3 Scarlet Fox is a cub, but its profound chi is the richest in the entire life of a Scarlet Fox. A level 3 Scarlet Fox is a cub, but its profound chi is the richest in the entire life of a Scarlet Fox. It can be said that it's comparable to a great tonifying pill. It can't be better for someone to break through their bottleneck. The highest bidder has it. He can provide a way to slaughter it. I guarantee that spirit blood won't waste a single drop. The cultivation of Demon Beast was much slower than a human's. Breaking through a single level of Demon Beast would take decades, or even 100 years. Therefore, the bodies of demi-humans were much stronger than humans. If they were on the same level, then the demi-humans would completely crush the humans. Their flesh and blood could provide a large amount of profound chi, which was a great supplement for cultivators. This kind of natural 3rd grade demon beast was even more outrageous. With a demon beast like the Scarlet Fox, who had both intelligence and attack, it was even harder to come by. I bid 20 holy source stones. I bid 40 pills. 50 pills for me. As the price continued to rise, many people wanted this Scarlet Fox. That young red fox seemed to know that people were fighting over him. Her curled-up body was shivering, and she looked extremely pitiful. Phoenix squeezed her way in and saw that the big red fox was immediately attracted. So cute. Squatting down and looking at the little fox in the cage, she directly asked, "How did you get caught?" The little fox looked at Phoenix, and its mouth twitched. Phoenix said, "Your parents have also been hunted down? So pitiful." Phoenix looked at Long Fei and said, "Hubby, she's so pitiful. Father and mother are both dead. She's the only one left." She was a phoenix, king of birds, peak divine beast. She was in human form now, but she could understand the words of the demon beast the same. Long Fei did not find it strange either, and asked, "Do you like her?" Phoenix nodded and said, I like it. Long Fei did not think too much about it. He took out a 2nd grade holy source stone and said, "A 2nd grade holy source stone." As soon as he finished speaking, immediately, the audience fell silent. They all looked at Long Fei. A 2nd grade holy source stone, compared to the grade 1 holy source stone, contain a much thicker holy source. Grade 2 holy source stones could be exchanged for 100 grade 1 holy source stones. Moreover, unless they needed it, no one would be able to exchange it. Is this person stupid? A third grade Scarlet Fox is worth at most 71st grade Holy Source stones, and he actually directly bid a second grade Holy Source stone? I think he must have a screw loose. This is crazy. The surrounding people started to discuss, all laughing at Long Fei's idiocy. Of course, they did not understand that as long as the phoenix liked it, he would find a way to get it, even if it was the stars in the sky. Because he felt that he owed Phoenix in his previous life. The man looked at the second grade Holy Source stone in Long Fei's hands and immediately became excited. One second grade Holy Source stone. Is there a higher price? Are there any more bids? Phoenix crouched down and said, "Don't be afraid. My husband will save you." The little fox looked at Long Fei. She was still trembling a little. She only felt hatred towards humans. If she could, she wanted to kill all the humans in the world. "Brother, this grade 3 Scarlet Fox is yours." The man took the second grade Holy Source stone from Long Fei's hand and said excitedly, "You want to sell it to me right now? Or keep it for yourself?" Phoenix had already opened the cage. She giggled and said, "We'll keep it for ourselves." He hugged the Scarlet Fox and ran out while chuckling. Long Fei laughed and followed. "If you buy the Scarlet Fox, you won't have the money to buy food." "I'm not hungry anymore." Phoenix caressed the little fox and walked towards the forest at the side. Long Fei followed him from behind. Seeing Long Fei and Phoenix leaving, the few people in the crowd looked at each other and nodded. He silently followed them. The two walked to the edge of the forest, and Phoenix put down the Scarlet Fox. She said, "Let's go. We need to go far away. Don't let the humans catch us again." The little fox looked at Phoenix with eyes filled with emotions. Phoenix smiled and said, "If you want to thank my husband, then thank him. He is the one who will help you. Remember to hide from me in the future. Go." The little fox looked at Long Fei, then bent its body towards Phoenix and entered the forest. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. Phoenix turned around and looked at Long Fei and said, "Hubby, I'm sorry, causing you to starve with me, but she's really pitiful." Long Fei replied, "It's fine, I'm not very hungry anyway." "Was she bowing to you at the end?" Phoenix smiled and said, She's thanking me. Furthermore, she said that she will repay us. I told her to hide far away." Long Fei did not understand the beast language, nor did he know what he had said. He was not interested either. Right now, he was thinking about how he could find something to eat for Phoenix. At this moment, Long Fei's eyes tensed up. His eyes looked towards the darkness. "Come out." Phoenix was stunned. At this time, four people walked out of the darkness. "Your cultivation isn't high, so your ability to sense is pretty good. I didn't expect the grade 3 Scarlet Fox that I just bought would be let go like this." "Brat, you're really willing." "That's true. You immediately took out a second grade Holy Source stone. You sure are generous. I presume you still have quite a few second grade Holy Source stones on you?" The few men smirked with knives in their hands. They surrounded Long Fei. The leading man said, "Brat, take out all the Holy Source stones you have on you. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Don't play any tricks otherwise. Your cultivation is not even at the 9th stage of apprentice." Disdain was written all over his face. Their cultivation levels were all in the Sword Faction's realm. Crushing apprentices' cultivation? It was too easy. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Are you robbing here? Don't the ancient antiquity have any laws?" "Ha ha! Laws? We are the law. I can tell that you are our new junior brother. Are you going to fight with us in the middle of the night?" "I'm going to fucking laugh. Hurry up and take out the Holy Source Stone. Reduce the pain." The moment the aura of the person speaking moved, it immediately formed an oppressive aura that pressed down on him. Long Fei's brows sank, and he looked at the Phoenix. "Are you hungry? Want some barbecue?" Phoenix swallowed her saliva and said, "We don't have money." Long Fei looked at them and said, "They should have one. Right. You guys should have Holy Source Stones, right?" The leader's gaze tightened. "Brat, I think your skin is really itchy. Brother, move." Before he finished speaking, Long Fei moved. Ancient dragon body. The atmosphere turned heavy. Superpower boxing, sweep. Boom. Bang, bang, bang. A few seconds later, the four of them lay prone on the ground, their bodies twitching. Long Fei squatted and said, "Am I the law now? Is this your skin itch? Brat, take out the holy source stones you have on you. If not, I will let you see my king's law that is even more tyrannical. Do you believe me?" The barbecue is so delicious. The barbecue is so delicious. If there were barbecue every day, I would be so happy. At the barbecue stall, Phoenix was munching on meat with a blissful expression on her face. Basically, he had already given her the roast meat, so Long Fei stood at her side and watched her eat, looking extremely cute as he smiled. "Slow down. It's not like there's anyone who's fighting with you. Senior brother, give us another 50 strings." "Yes, immediately." The owner's senior brother was grinning from ear to ear. Long Fei ate a piece and chewed it a few times, then said, "It's average, not good enough to taste, and not hot enough." It was just ordinary barbecue. However, the business here was surprisingly good, and the people eating there all had a satisfied expression on their faces, as if it was the most delicious food in the world. Might not have thought much of this place, but to others, this place might be the most delicious food in the entire outer sect. Every world has something to focus on. Other worlds focus on the martial arts training, for technology, for cooking, and for making clothes. They were all very casual. There were not many people who would spend their time on them. In Long Fei's eyes, the taste of the roast meat was average, but in their eyes, it was top quality. Business is booming. If I were to open a barbecue shop here, wouldn't it explode to the heavens? Long Fei smiled confidently. He wasn't sure about anything else, but he was confident about roasting meat. Moreover, he was in need of money. "I really need the holy source stone to cultivate." The four people that were robbed just now were also poor people. They only had 3 holy source stones on them, so after being eaten by the phoenix, they were probably close to the mark. Very soon, 50 kebabs of grilled meat were sent over, plus 5. "You guys have consumed quite a bit. These 5 are free gifts." Long Fei asked, "Thank you, senior brother." "Senior brother, I would like to ask, do you need any formalities to set up a stall here?" The boss looked at Long Fei and wiped his hands that were covered with stains with his pocket and said, "Just go to the General Affairs Department to apply for a bit. There's nothing else. It's just that I need to find the source of the demon beast. The higher the grade, the more popular it is. If it's a real one, then that's even better. Fresh meat is more nutritious, after all. Junior brother, are you lacking holy source stones?" Long Fei looked at Phoenix and laughed. "With a glutton like her, how could I not be short on money?" Phoenix looked up and giggled at Long Fei. Long Fei said, "Senior brother, how much can you guys earn in one night?" The owner said, "I can't earn much, so I will just earn myself a living. At my age, leaving the ancient antiquity is impossible, and once I leave our hometown, it will be disastrous. I can only stay here and wait for death. In order to maintain my identity as a disciple of the ancient antiquity, I can only do this." There was a hint of dejection in his eyes. He would probably waste most of his life here. Who in the family would have thought that he was roasting meat here? Life is like this. Many people lived for others, for that glory. Many people couldn't let it go because there were too many restrictions. The shop owner regained his composure and smiled. "Seeing how unfamiliar you are, you must be a new junior brother. The profits from roasting meat are not bad, but if we can't make money, we are helpless. We don't want to leave this place, so we should focus on cultivation. Only by becoming stronger can I obtain what I want." Long Fei said, "Thank you, senior brother." The boss innocently smiled and said, "Have a good meal, both of you." Then he walked away. "Life isn't easy," Long Fei said indifferently. Phoenix raised her head again and asked, "Hubby, what are you saying?" There was not much left of the 50 kebabs in front of her. Long Fei looked at the greasy phoenix that filled his mouth and asked, "How can your small stomach be so edible?" Phoenix cutely smiled. "With a foodie like him, I really have to make more money." Long Fei sighed in his heart. All 3 holy source stones had been used up. In the end, he wrapped up some roasted meat and brought it back to 100 Mile City and Zhao. He also asked the owner for some salt and spices. On the way back to the courtyard, Phoenix had a contented look on her face. I'm so full. If I had barbecued meat every day, I would be so happy. Phoenix's face was filled with satisfaction as she stroked her round belly. Long Face said, "Is that enough?" Phoenix replied, "And I also need husband to accompany me." Long Face stroked the back of the Phoenix's head. "You little fool." On the way, Long Fei thought about surviving in the ancient antiquity. He had to break through the swordsman rank as soon as possible. Breaking through required holy sword stones as well as spirit stones. Earning money was of utmost importance. It seems like it's time for me to show this world my culinary skills. Long Fei smiled slightly. He believed that with his culinary skills, he would surely be able to make a huge profit. Bang! Smash them all. Brat, I'm telling you, this is Lousy's territory. If you want to mess around in Lousy's territory, then you have to pay the protection fee. Do you understand? In the yard. The courtyard that had been tidied up was now in a mess. A dozen disciples stood in the yard. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan were in a daze. They could not muster up any strength. After Long Fei left, Ma Dongqiao brought his men into the courtyard. Without saying a word, he smashed everything down as if he was a bandit descending the mountain. Moreover, upon entering the room, he launched a sneak attack. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan were both not in a hurry to react. These disciples' cultivations were all at the sword faction realm, far higher than the two of them. They also had sneak attacks, and in a single exchange, they had suffered a crushing defeat. Bailey Tianhai said solemnly, "Payment of protection fees?" Ma Dongqiao sneered, walked in front of Bailey Tianhai, and said, "That's right." Luo Yuan shouted, "Do you know who's the boss of this street? If you want to stay here, you have to call it protection fee, or else I'll beat you up every time I see you, understand?" New guy. Ha ha, ha ha. Everyone in the yard laughed. Bailey Tianhai said, Give up. This must be done. How can I not give up the protection fee on Brother Chow's territory? But we didn't have any money on us when we first came to the ancient antiquity. How about this? 3 days later, and we pay 3 days later. If they faced each other head-on, the two of them would surely suffer a loss. Not a match for them. A wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. When the winds and clouds rise up again, I will definitely stain half the sky with my blood. Ma Dongqiao squatted down and looked at Bailey Tianhai. His palm slapped Bailey Tianhai's face. "Pay in 3 days? No problem. However, I won't be able to protect you in these 3 days." As soon as he finished, Ma Dongqiao suddenly got up, and with a heavy kick, he shouted, "Hit him! You dare to come here in front of me, Ma Dongqiao. You're courting death." Ma Dongqiao said fiercely. The 10 over lackeys quickly rushed up and began to punch and kick Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan. Bang, bang, bang. Not long after, both of them were badly injured with blood hanging from the corner of their mouths. Ma Dongqiao sneered and said, "Listen up, if you don't pay tomorrow, you can come fight again tomorrow. Brothers, let's go." Ma Dongqiao walked away. "Brother Chow, why didn't you kill them? With senior brother Lin protecting me, what do I have to be afraid of?" Ma Dongqiao disdainfully said, "You don't understand shit. Killing them all at once is not fun. What should happen to monkeys? Only by playing it slowly will it be interesting. Let's do it today, let's do it tomorrow, and make him go crazy. Isn't this more fun? Haha, killing someone to sever their heart. This was the highest realm." However, Ma Dongqiao was not an idiot. He was Lin Yuan's little brother, but he had his own brains too. A punch or a few kicks wouldn't have made much of a difference, even if he was crippled. However, once a person died, it would be different. The outer sect would definitely investigate. For Lin Yuan to be able to kill the disciple examiner in front of so many elder of Inner House, he could at least be able to shirk responsibility and kill. Most importantly, he didn't get any benefits at the moment. How could he do that? Naturally, they would not so easily eliminate Bailey Tianhai and the others. Gao, Brother Chow is awesome. This is what senior brother Lin wants. Haha. The group disappeared into the night. Half an hour later, Long Fei walked into the courtyard with Phoenix. Phoenix brought the roast meat and skipped into the courtyard. She said, "Eat the roast meat." But as soon as he realized the situation was not right, his eyes narrowed. Who is this? Long Fei's eyes also darkened. They immediately entered the hall and laughed bitterly when they saw that Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan had truly cleaned up and broken things on the floor. Seeing the two of them with bruises all over and their bodies covered in blood, Long Fei was inwardly enraged and asked, "Who is it?" Bailey Tianhai laughed innocently and said, "About that, I was just a little unable to control myself after sparring with Big Sis, and ended up like this." Zhao Dehan nodded his head. "We are all too angry." Long Fei said, "Do you two think I'm a fool? Is that Lin Yuan? Or the elder of the inner sex, Sword Elf Mountainess?" Bailey Tianhai said, "No, it's not them. We really couldn't defend ourselves in a spar and ended up like this." They didn't want Long Fei to find trouble with them. Although Long Fei's power was very strong, being in ancient antiquity, the water in this place was very dense. It might be okay if someone bullied you, but once you attack someone else, something would happen. They don't know what's going on here yet. They did not want Long Fei to force himself to stand up for them. Zhao Dehan said, "Big brother, we are really fine. It's just some flesh wounds." The two of them were extremely unhappy. But no one else was stronger than him. Even if he broke his teeth, he could only swallow it down to his stomach. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly and said, "All right, do you still take me as your brother?" Bailey Tianhai said, "Big brother, we are really fine. Today we have been set up by someone. We will definitely get back at them." Bailey Tianhai was not the type of person who liked to find people to help. If he did not take revenge, then he was not Bailey Tianhai. Long Fei did not speak further. This matter wasn't over. Phoenix said, "Let's eat some barbecue first. This barbecue is really delicious." "You must be too hungry, so you ended up being scammed. If you're full, we'll beat you back." Bailey Tianhai laughed. "You're right. Big brother, you really don't have to worry. You still don't know who we are? Today we're going to have sex. Tomorrow, I'm going to have sex with his family." He took the piece of grilled meat and stuffed it into his mouth, oil dripping out of his mouth as he laughed. "It's so fragrant. It's really delicious." Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai and did not say a word. Bailey Tianhai had never been at a disadvantage in the Sea City. He had been set up on the very first day he came to ancient antiquity, and he would never give up on this kind of attitude. However, even if his forebrain genius was deceived, he would not be injured to such an extent. There was only one possibility, and that was that his opponents had the advantage of numbers, and their cultivations were all above theirs. Long Fei did not speak further. "It's fine if you just clean up, but rest early. You still need to report tomorrow, and you still have a mission to complete." Bailey Tianhai nodded and said, "Big brother, since we're injured like this, we won't be going to register tomorrow. Just report to us. It's just a name anyway. The two of us are at home." Long Fei replied, "Amen." And then Long Fei did not stay and walked to his own room, and without delay, sat down cross-legged, and the idea entered the refined space. It had only been the first day, and he had already encountered so many things. They had been targeted by the inner sect disciples and the elder of inner house S. Now, even an outer sect disciple was riding on their heads to pee and shit. How could King tolerate this? He knew what Bailey Tianhai was thinking. Long Fei also clearly knew what he had to do now. Breakthrough. Upgrade. After entering the refined space, Long Fei had refined himself to the point of death. Other people might have cycles of cultivation, but he didn't have any cycles at all. He just continued to cultivate and didn't even consider himself as a person. To be refined to the death. It was like a piece of red-hot iron that was being continuously hammered by thousands of hammers. He was like this now. As his body was being tempered, the spirit energy in his body was being nourished and circulating unceasingly. His physical body grew stronger bit by bit. 2 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours, 40 hours. Rumble. Long Fei's body released a loud explosion. It was as if a large door had been pushed open from the inside. As the light shone upon the body, an indescribable feeling of comfort spread throughout his entire body. Strength increased. Speed increased. All of Long Fei's attributes have been increased by a lot. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, Swordsman first rank. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. The reward is the Golden Silk Soft Armor. Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for breaking through the Swordsman rank, activating the Swordsman dungeon, Brutal Sword. Several notifications sounded consecutively. This kind of feeling made Long Fei feel indescribably good no matter what. In the past, leveling up had involved killing people or gaining experience. It didn't feel good, but now that he had broken through it step by step, it felt more fulfilling. Gold Mail increases defense by 50%, fatal blow by 10%, and defense by 1%. Ding! Wear it! Long Fei moved, go. She couldn't see it, but Long Fei could feel its existence. It was very gentle, like a piece of silk. His defense had obviously improved. The golden silk armor was not the main point. The main point was the instance dungeon reward given by the system. Tyrant's Sword. What kind of instance dungeon is this? Long Fei opened the dungeon notification. Instance dungeon. Tyrannical sword description. Enter the sword tomb to find the only sword available. Number of times. 1 description. Failure. Extinction. If the dungeon disappears, there is a chance for additional rewards. It's that simple. Just find a usable sword. Long Fei was in disbelief. The first instance dungeon was the Berserk Beast. If he had not found a maps bug, he would not have been able to complete it. He did not believe that this violent sword dungeon was so simple. However, Long Fei decided not to linger. Enter. Long Fei did not want to stay. Although he had not practiced the Berserk Beast sword art, which was rewarded from the Berserk Beast dungeon, the Berserk Beast sword technique was still very strong. The rewards of an instance dungeon would not be weak. They were only looking for a usable sword in the violent sword dungeon. It had to be a special sword, and it might even be the ancient world's holy artifact sword. Ding! Are you sure you want to enter the instance dungeon? Yes, sir. Ding! Counting down to enter the dungeon. 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, Long Fei's world suddenly changed. It became an unreachable mountain of swords. The entire mountain densely packed with swords. Over 1,000,000. Long Fei stood at the foot of the mountain, raised his head and muttered, "System, there's a sentence that your mother is criticizing. Do you think it's appropriate to say it?" Tens of thousands of Chow Nima's heads roared past in his heart. This is F** King Sword Tomb? Your grave is this big? This is a F** King Sea of Swords, all right? Long Fei complained his heart. The system had never let him down, not even once. Not only were there many swords, the shape of the swords were also very strange and varied. There was a great sword, 100 meters long. There was a broken sword. There were also small dagger-like swords. Countless. In a Mad Beast dungeon, he had been forced into an extremely miserable state. In the end, he had to jump off a cliff to end his own life before completing the quest. Looking at the mountain full of swords, Long Fei felt his scalp go numb. However, just like traveling, even if they came, what could they do? Even if it was shit, he still had to swallow it. Huff! Long Fei exhaled, looked at the peak of the sword mountain, and said, "Under normal circumstances, this kind of sword would always be at the top. This is usually the case in the game." Long Fei did not think too much about it. He directly stepped onto the sword mountain and went up to the peak. Looking at the few swords on top, he saw that they were very ordinary and did not have anything special about them. The swords around him did the same. They were all beads of dust, and you couldn't tell the difference between good and bad. Is this more and more a test of my IQ? Long Fei muttered, seeing that all the swords were similar. Not one of them had anything special about them. This was an instance dungeon. It was just like a game dungeon. He had always firmly believed that there was a bug in the game that could be found in any instance dungeon. In the Berserk Beast dungeon, there was definitely a bug in the Violent Sword dungeon. In that case, what is it? Long Fei thought, at the same time as she was also continuously sensing, wanting to see if there was any sword aura or a sword spirit that was different from the others. However, nothing. Long Fei gently gripped onto a sword hilt. He closed his eyes and thought, "Is that you?" The sword did not respond at all. However, Long Fei could feel an incomparable passion from the sword hilt, as though it was a sword of passion. Long Fei could even feel his blood boiling. He grabbed the other one. Sword of the Peak. The feeling of looking down on all the small mountains. This, Sword of Sorrow, Wild Sword, Sword of Suicide, grasping it in one go, Long Fei realized that each and every sword here had its own unique characteristics. They were happy, angry, sad, sick, old, ill, at the pinnacle of life, at a low valley, have all sorts of attributes. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, ice, wind, lightning, cloud. There were all of them, but none of them were repeated. At least Long Fei had held thousands of them with different attributes. Holy **T. The swords here are truly extraordinary. Long Fei sighed. Although he tried to hold every sword, he couldn't pull it out. Pulling it out meant that he had made a choice. Once he made the wrong choice, he would fail the mission. Long Fei opened the instance dungeon. Find a sword that I can use. In other words, I need to find a sword that suits me. What kind of sword would that be? Every sword here seems to be of the divine rank. If any swords were placed outside, they would be heaven's stage existences. I no longer need to worry about money. Long Fei secretly thought, if they were all holy artifacts, then these were definitely not swords that he could use. The system was not that simple. Long Fei locked the space between his brows. He slowly walked down from the peak of the mountain. Along the way, he also tried to sense the attributes of each sword. Strangely, the lower he went, the lower the attribute of the sword became, and the weaker it became. The more ordinary it became. The good swords are all on it, but those swords are definitely not suitable for me. System, damn you. You know very well that I can't stand the temptation, and I even have a bunch of holy artifact in front of me. What are you trying to do? Long Fei complained his heart. Half an hour later, he once again returned to his starting point. Raising his head, he looked towards the sky, towards the tall mountain of swords. Phew, I'm just an ordinary person. It's just that I have an additional system. If I didn't have the system, I would still be otaku from which planet. An extremely ordinary commoner. Perhaps everything about me changed due to transmigration. If I didn't transmigrate, I would still be at the starting point. So, Long Fei took a step forward, and a very ordinary sword pierced into the ground. This was the first sword. Long Fei held it up and did not try to sense its attribute. Looking at the tall mountain of swords, he said, perhaps it is not as powerful or gorgeous as you guys, or perhaps it is not as tall or powerful as you guys, but here's what I want now. As soon as he finished, Long Fei pulled hard. When the sword was unearthed, Long Fei was lifted up into the air. The sword did not produce any changes, nor did it emit a boundless radiance. It also did not emit any sword chimes. It was just like an ordinary sword that was lifted up into the air. Nothing had changed. Everything was so calm. Huff! Long Fei secretly heaved a sigh of relief and said to himself, could it be that I made the wrong choice? That shouldn't be the case. If it's a game dungeon, if it's not the top one, then it's definitely the first one. This is just a trap. Long Fei understood very clearly in his heart. He could not choose those divine swords. Just like the golden axe, the silver axe, or the iron axe. If he wanted to clear the instance dungeon, he could only choose the iron axe. Just when Long Fei suspected that he made a mistake, the entire sword sect mountain suddenly shook. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A series of booms rang out. It was as if the world had collapsed. Long Fei's heart tensed up. Did you fail? Suddenly, shwa! A sword suddenly flew out with a hum. It directly flew into Long Fei's normal human sword. Following that, it flew up again, transforming into a sword image that flew in. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 1 million-strong sword rose up from the ground, forming a sword dragon, constantly rushing towards Long Fei's sword. The scene was extremely beautiful. Long Fei was shocked. At this moment, he knew that he had succeeded. Regardless of whether it was a sword, holy artifact, spirit weapon, or other powerful attributes, they all started from the ordinary people. The sword was the same as the man. Ding! System beep. Congratulations to player Long Fei for passing the Tyrant's Sword dungeon. Ding! Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for passing the Tyrant's Sword dungeon. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Great Sword. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the mysterious reward. The system sounded out continuously. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. I made the right bet. Long Fei was betting all this, since losing meant losing the dungeon to him anyway. Although it was a big gamble, it was related to Long Fei's experience in games in his previous life. It seems like I played too many games and read too many novels in my previous life. Anime is also helpful. Long Fei laughed excitedly. He could not wait to open the system to have a look. Big Sword. This name, I can only use one word to describe it. Hang. The name was too much. But Long Fei looked at its attribute and swallowed it down with a gulp as he muttered to himself, "Isn't this attribute a bit too abnormal?" Item: Big Sword grade. King grade attributes: Ice type, Wood type, Fire type, Water attribution, Earth type, Metal type. Almighty attributes. Description: possesses the attribute of omnipotence. 1 million sword spirits. Generally speaking, this sort of thing wouldn't have much of an effect in the game, so it didn't have any outstanding attributes. Each attribute had 1 point. This godly weapon was too weak. However, the attribute of this great sword was not 1%, but every single one of them was a 100% existence. In other words, it was a super holy artifact, an all-round super holy artifact. Just like its name, it was a great sword. This was the place where Long Fei was shocked. Looking at the great treasured sword in his hand that had returned to its normal state, he muttered to himself, "You are truly awesome." This was only the second instance dungeon of the swordsman rank, and he was already rewarded with a divine weapon. There were still many dungeons behind him. How could he not ascend to the heavens? Even if he didn't go up to heaven, he would have already seen a ghost. Moreover, there were 8 doors in refined space, and each path had a corresponding cultivation level. Long Fei was currently training with the sword, and his rank was a swordsman. When he started cultivating, it would be a new beginning. In other words, every time he broke through a new realm, there would be a special reward for instance dungeons. 8 gates. How many dungeons were there? Swordsmanship was godly. Strength training was also a godly ability. Alchemy, formation, beast equipment. They were all god equipment, just like the great sword. They were omnidirectional and omnipotent god equipment. If he couldn't do this to the Emperor Xian, then Long Fei would just self-destruct. After inspecting the properties of the big sword, Long Fei looked at the mysterious reward. The reward was a box. Just like the boxes in the game, what was inside would depend on Long Fei's luck. Open the box. My luck has always been good. I don't need anything else. Just give me a box of holy source stones. Long Fei rubbed his hands together and said excitedly, "I'm here." The idea moved and opened. The box opened, an array of light shot out. A crystal clear rock floated in the system interface and appeared in Long Fei's mind. The system beeped. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the soul raw stone. As soon as he finished, Long Fei stood there like an idiot, not moving an inch. Looking at the ore in his mind, he was a little afraid of looking at its properties. Because soul rocks. He could not help but think of the infinite boxing S that had exterminated the hegemons, which was also the reward he got from the universal realm. The one that he could use the power of the ancient dragon body to summon his infinite boxing. Half the population of the universe is destroyed by a snap of the fingers. It didn't matter if you were a human or a god, whether you were a person of high status or a commoner of low status. There was no special exception, only equality and random death. With a snap of his fingers, everything was solved. One of the ores on the infinite boxing was the soul rocks. It was the soul rocks that he had sacrificed his beloved for. Is that it? Is it really it? My infinite boxing has it. All that's left is the ore. Am I going to walk the road of destruction too? If my spirit blood is able to travel through space in the small world, then is it that I possess another ore in my body? F*CK. I can't take it anymore. Long Fei was unable to control his excitement. If it was really the ore of the women's union, if it was really that powerful, then this world would have to lie prostrate at his feet. Furthermore, it was still trembling nonstop. An Empyrean god? Over God? Emperor? He was the king of a world, the lord of all realms. All of them had to kneel before this old man. Hoo. Long Fei's heartbeat could not help but accelerate. He was a little afraid of facing it. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. Item: Rocks level. Attribute: Soul type description. Besides the soul pet and its name, there was no other description and no power of any kind. Long Fei stared blankly. Damn system, what do you mean by that? Do you want to go to heaven? Your father, took great pains to open an ore, yet you actually dare to do this to me. You are too shameless. It was one thing if he didn't know the level. Even the description was a question mark. What kind of power was it? He had no idea. Wasn't this a scam? If the system was human, then he would definitely have been pressed down by Long Fei to the ground and ruthlessly rubbed against it. Damn it, system, you are awesome. Long Fei roared fiercely. He looked at the yellow crystal clear ore and thought, I do not care what type it is. When I summon the infinite boxing again, it will immediately be embedded inside, and there will be an attribute display, right? Long Fei calculated in his heart. Wasn't exterminating a tyrant directly placed into the groove of an infinite boxing? He could do it, and Long Fei could do it too. However, is this soul or the soul or of the movie world? I don't know. Then again, was the three types of universes the same as Long Fei's current universe? Can you also snap your fingers at a person who's half dead? I don't know. After all, one was the movie world, the other was Long Fei's real world. But no matter what, this soul ore was definitely an awesome item. Thinking of this, Long Fei's mood became good, and he said, An instance dungeon is awesome. The reward of one instance dungeon is 2 things. Each one is like a piece of cake for the heavens. The drop rate was low, but the rewards for the instance dungeon were increased. This was also a change in the system. All right, it should be around dawn by now. Long Fei calculated the time. The idea withdrew and came out of refined space. At this moment, it was already early in the morning. Long Fei stood up, both of his hands extended, his joints releasing explosive sounds as he clenched his fists and felt the power of the swordsman rank. This feeling was very refreshing. Hubby, wake up. Phoenix was like a little fairy as she jumped in front of Long Fei. Long Fei replied. He purposely raised his voice. I'll go register first, then I'll take a look at the mission. He brought Phoenix with him and walked out of the courtyard. Seeing Long Fei leave, Bailey Tianhai did not give it much thought as he immediately said, You idiot, get up. We need to make some preparations. Ma Dongqiao will come back today. Ma Dongqiao will come back today. He was ambushed yesterday, so no matter what, he had to get back at them. Bailey Tianhai shoved Long Fei aside because he did not want to involve Long Fei in the battle as well. Hearing Bailey Tianhai's voice, Zhao Dehan immediately walked out and clenched his fists tightly. The muscles on his body tensed up, and he said, Second brother, just tell me what to do. The corner of Bailey Tianhai's mouth curled up and said, Yesterday, he ambushed Laozi, and today, Laozi is here to ambush him as well. First, we'll set up a few traps. Once we're hit, we'll just do it one at a time. I've always been the one bullying people since I was born, and no one has ever bullied me before. When Bailey Tianhai thought about what happened last night, he immediately got angry. If he didn't come back this time, then he would no longer have the last name of Bailey. They busied themselves. Junior brother Ma, senior brother Lin was very dissatisfied with your performance yesterday. Those two trash, especially that man called Bailey Tianhai, senior brother Lin, mean that they can't live. Don't you know that? What did you do? You did a few punches and kicks. What are you doing? You completely do not put senior brother Lin's words in your eyes. Within a luxurious courtyard, a middle-aged man was seated on an armchair. His gaze was ice-cold as he stared at Ma Dongxiao. Ma Dongxiao sat straight and upright. Although this was his courtyard and all of them were his brothers, he did not dare to make a sound. This was because the person standing in front of him was one of the 10 great experts of the outer sect, the one ranked 9th, Sun Yong. His cultivation was far above Ma Dongxiao, an existence that could crush Ma Dongxiao. The most important thing was that Sun Yong was also an ancient ability. It was just that the degree of his inherent skill awakening wasn't high. This year, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, entering the ranks of the top 10 experts. Now that he had a relationship with Lin Yuan, there was a high possibility that he could enter the intersect for this year's intersect examination. Ma Dongxiao said again, "How would I dare to disobey senior brother Lin's orders? I just want to properly play with them so that they cannot beg for death." "Humph!" Sun Yong coldly snorted and said, "Ma Dongxiao, others don't understand you, but how can I not understand? You are afraid that the outer sect's murderous forest senior brother will not protect you, right?" Ma Dongxiao said, "I've never thought about it like that." That's what he thought. He only wanted to live a safe life in the outer sect. If he killed someone and Lin Yuan did not protect him, then at least he would be expelled from ancient antiquity. "All right, there's no need to say anymore. Lead the way." Sun Yong stood up. He did not want to chat anymore with Ma Dongxiao. The reason he came in was simple. Even if we have to cripple Bailey Tianhai, even if he doesn't die, we will make him brainless for life. Four-brain genius? Before entering the intersect and finding a backer, if he crippled his brain, he would become a waste. Ma Dongxiao did not dare delay and immediately walked out of the courtyard. He shouted, "Didn't you hear senior brother Sun's words? Lead the way." The dozen or so disciples in the courtyard trembled in fear, then quickly rushed out of the courtyard. Zhao Dahan, even if it was a 9-stage blood vein, its talent was average and it posed no threat at all. As long as Lin Yuan was willing, he would never be able to enter the intersect. As for Long Fei, just like Zhao Dahan, she did not pose any threat to him. The one who posed the biggest threat to Lin Yuan was Bailey Tianhai. Once four-brain genius was taken seriously, it would be terrifying. As long as Bailey Tianhai entered the intersect, then it would basically be impossible to make a move against him. Thus, in the outer sect, Bailey Tianhai had to die. Even if he didn't die, his brain would be crippled. In the morning, bam! The gate was kicked away. The 2 broken doors were smashed into pieces, littering the courtyard. At this moment, Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dahan sat on the stone bench in the courtyard. When they saw the door to the courtyard be kicked away, both of their gazes tightened. Ma Dongxiao was the first one to step into the courtyard. He didn't dare to delay any further in front of Sun Yong, because at that time, forget about Lin Yuan, he wouldn't even be able to handle a single Sun Yong. Bailey Tianhai sneered and said, "Are you ready? Come and get it." Ma Dongxiao walked in with large strides and shouted, "If you dare to lose half a head today, this father will wring out your head right now." Watching Ma Dongxiao walk into the courtyard, Zhao Dahan slowly got up. Bailey Tianhai still sat and didn't move. Suddenly, Ma Dongxiao stopped and looked down a trap. A thread as thin as a hair broke. Bam! A stream of power swept out. The thick wood directly collided into the center of Ma Dongxiao's brows. Ma Dongxiao's gaze darkened as he said disdainfully, "You want to hurt me with such a childish trap? Brat, you're dead today." Seeing the wooden log exploding against him, Ma Dongxiao was not afraid at all. This kind of attack was not even a threat to him. He pulled out his sword and slashed down. The sword chi sliced the wooden log into 2. Just as Ma Dongxiao was laughing mockingly, his back felt cold. At the same time as the wooden beam hit him, 2 thin steel nails stabbed into his back. The wooden beam was just a feint. It was the main attack. Ma Dongqiao did not think too much and charged forward. His speed was extremely fast, and he wanted to exceed the time the nails took to fly. It was also at this time they were already preparing for Zhao Dahan to take a step forward. Boom! With a 3-meter-tall body and a body as solid as granite, the moment he took a step forward, his strength exploded. Bang, bang, bang. With steps like thunder, he rushed in front of Ma Dongqiao, extended his right fist, and swept it across. Bam! It directly landed on Ma Dongqiao's chest. Puff! Ma Dongqiao spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest felt like it was splitting apart, and his entire body flew out, striking the disciples behind him. 5 or 6 disciples were knocked back by the impact of his attack. Zhao Dahan was born with great strength, and with the power he had just accumulated, this punch was extremely ferocious. Ma Dongqiao's face turned pale white. He stood up and swallowed a spirit pellet. Staring at Zhao Dahan, his eyes turned sinister as he asked, "Strength warrior?" Zhao Dahan smiled slightly and said, "Not bad. 7th stage of the Mighty Master realm. 7th rank Mighty Master, right?" After the Ma Dongqiao pellet entered his body, his complexion turned better. With a smile, he said, "Go to hell." Boom! His aura exploded. It formed a suppressive force of the realm. Ma Dongqiao's figure moved, his footsteps transforming. The sword in his hand also changed. Meteor sword technique. Sword in the sky. On the tip of the sword, points of light could be seen as powerful sword chi locked onto Zhao Dahan's entire body. Zhao Dahan felt as if he was trapped in a desperate situation. However, he wasn't worried. His discipline was stone, and his flesh was rough. Also, behind him was Bailey Tianhai. Bailey Tianhai looked at Ma Dongqiao's sword technique, and in less than 3 seconds he said, "Big idiot, move 1 step to the left." 3 steps forward, boom. Zhao Dahan completely followed Bailey Tianhai's instructions and punched out. Bam! A fist smashed into Ma Dongqiao's nose, causing his blood to flow wildly as he continuously retreated backwards. Zhao Dahan laughed, looked at Ma Dongqiao, and hooked his finger, saying, "Come again." They were prepared for the ambush the previous night. Moreover, they were holding back their anger in their hearts. If they did not get back this opportunity, they would lose too much face for Sea City. They were prepared for the ambush the previous night. Moreover, they were holding back their anger in their hearts. If they did not get back this opportunity, they would lose too much face for Sea City. Zhao Dahan's strength, Bailey Tianhai's brain. With just a little bit of cooperation, even if his cultivation was weaker than Ma Dongqiao's, he would still be able to defeat her. 2 consecutive attacks, heavily injuring Ma Dongqiao. All of a sudden, the lackeys around Ma Dongqiao were a little dazed. Were these the 2 people they bullied yesterday? It was as if he was a completely different person. Ma Dongqiao wiped the blood off his nose. He was furious and stared at Bailey Tianhai. He knew how terrifying 4-brain genius was today. Although meteor sword technique was not a high-level sword technique, it was still considered above average in the outside world. With just a glance, he was able to find a way to break it within a few seconds. This brain was not a brain at all. It was just a supercomputer. Ma Dongqiao shouted, "Let's go together." Will the 4-brain genius count? Let me see how you calculate that. You guys deal with the big guy. I'll go cripple 4-brain genius. Ma Dongqiao replied heavily. He took a step forward. At the same time, those lackeys behind him also instantly rushed out. Let's fight together. Let's see how you calculate that. The corners of Ma Dongqiao's eyes turned sinister. He believed that the world relied on strength in the end. No matter how sharp his brain was, a single punch had exploded. However, he had overlooked the power of his 4 brains. Zhao Dahan's body suddenly retreated and instantly stood in front of Bailey Tianhai, blocking. His body sank slightly, and a burst of chi burst out. At this moment, he was like a mountain that stood in front of Bailey Tianhai. Bailey Tianhai smiled faintly and said, "One step left, boom." Zhao Dahan moved and threw out a punch. Bam! One of the minions was directly sent flying. One step, 3 steps to the right, boom. Zhao Dahan did as he was told, throwing out a punch. Bam! Another minion was sent flying and landed on the ground. He couldn't get up at all. Take a step back and block this punch. Boom! Zhao Dahan did as he was told, his body sinking down as a fist punched at his chest. His body did not move at all, but that disciple's fist started to make explosive cracking sounds. It seemed like his joints had been dislocated. Zhao Dahan punched out. Bam! One of them did the calculations faster than lightning, while the other did the same. All of a sudden, bang, bang, bang. The minions who rushed up were all flung out. Their movements, fist techniques, and sword techniques were all seen through by Bailey Tianhai before they could even make a move. Decomposition, looking for flaws. Zhao Dahan punched out. The two of them perfectly coordinated. In just a few minutes, all of those over a dozen of minions were lying prone on the ground, leaving behind only Ma Dongqiao, who had yet to ascend the stage. At this moment, his scalp was slightly numb. Was this a person? This is F*King like a ghost. The reaction speed of this brain was absolutely monstrous. His gaze shifted towards the motionless Sun Yong behind him. Sun Yong's gaze tightened. A bunch of useless trash. With a cold voice, and at this very instant, Sun Yong took a step forward. Shua! Her figure was like an illusion, and with a step, she appeared in front of Zhao Dahan. Zhao Dahan's gaze tensed up. Bailey Tianhai's face also darkened. He immediately shouted out, body sinking, defensive stance. However, too slow. Sun Yong said in a heavy voice, "You're too slow." A fist turned into a palm, heavily smashing onto Zhao Dahan's chest. Zhao Dahan's body caved in as a stream of power shot out from his back, directly blowing away the clothes on his back. Blood sprayed out from his mouth as he was sent flying. Not waiting for him to fall, Sun Yong's figure moved again, landing in midair, jumping onto Zhao Dahan's body, stepping on top of his head, his body sinking, fall. Bailey Tianhai's pupils tightened as he shouted loudly, "Stupid! Rumble!" Zhao Dahan's body fiercely descended and heavily smashed into the ground. Half of his head directly sunk into the ground, leaving half of his head exposed. Blood gushed out. Zhao Dahan's body was also twitching. If it weren't for the fact that he had a granite discipline, his head would have burst open long ago. Sun Yong stepped heavily on Zhao Dahan's head, the corners of his mouth hooked up as he sneered, and said, "Don't you know how to calculate? Now, do you think I could trample him to death?" He smiled coldly, staring at Bailey Tianhai. He was full of playfulness. Bailey Tianhai clenched his fists and said, "What you want is my life. Release him, and I will do whatever you want with him." Since he knew he was from the four-brain genius, then there was only one possibility. Lin Yuan's men. It could either be Qin Wansheng or the Sword Elf Mountain Elder, but the latter two were both from Elder of Inner House. There was no way to compete with an outer disciple like them, so there was only one possibility, Lin Yuan. Bailey Tianhai had thought about Lin Hai, but he didn't think that Sun Yong would appear. He thought it would still be Ma Dongqiao's group from yesterday. However, when a stronger person appeared, he neglected this possibility. Sun Yong laughed. "I'm afraid you won't be able to calculate it, right? Your life naturally won't be able to escape. Right now, I just want you to calculate whether or not I can stomp him to death, huh?" Sun Yong was extremely pleased with himself. Bailey Tianhai stood up and said, "My life is in your hands. Release." Not waiting for him to finish, Sun Yong shouted, "Count me in." Bailey Tianhai's gaze tensed up. Zhao Dahan was on the verge of death and stepped on his head, making him unable to move. Bailey Tianhai was extremely worried. Sun Yong's strength had exceeded his expectations, and since Zhao Dahan was in such a state now, could he possibly unleash the potential within his body? Bailey Tianhai did not dare calculate. He could not calculate either. He could not take his brother's life as a joke. Not really? You don't count, I count. I calculate that he will die. The corner of Sun Yong's mouth curled up as he revealed a ghastly and cold smile. Then he exerted strength in his legs and was about to heavily stomp on the ground. However, at this moment, a voice came from behind him. I'll count to 1. Sun Yong's gaze turned cold, his eyeballs turned, and he looked towards the entrance of the courtyard. Sensing the aura, he laughed coldly. A waste of the swordsman rank? When Ma Dongqiao saw Long Fei, he also laughed in disdain. Even a trash like you dares to be disrespectful to senior brother's son? Sun Yong no longer looked at Long Fei. He simply did not need to put a waste of swordsman rank in his eyes. The space between his eyebrows deepened, exerting force with his legs. At this moment, Long Fei moved his sword. Sun Yong still did not put her in his eyes. It was just that, in the next second, before he could even exert his strength, the space between his eyebrows tightened and his back felt cold. He felt a huge monster behind him. Zhang Xian's eyes narrowed. His reaction was also incomparably fast. At this time, he did not want to kill anyone, but rather wanted to protect himself. He suddenly retreated. He jumped a few dozen feet and landed on the ground. His pupils sank once again, because the feeling of being stared at by the enormous creature had not disappeared. The corners of his eyes twitched as he thrust his sword forward. Buzz! Clang! The long sword shattered. Starting from the center of his forehead, a thin line of blood flowed down. Sun Yong stood where he was before. His eyes opened extremely wide, and the bloody groove on his forehead opened up to the bottom with a whoosh. Once his HP fell, it would become 0. Once his HP fell, it would become 0. Sun Yong's body heavily sank down, and he kneeled on the ground. His eyes stared straight at Long Fei, and then, with a bang, he fell to the ground. Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for killing Sun Yong. Do you wish to absorb his cultivation? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 1 second grade Holy Source Stone, 5 first grade Holy Source Stones. The system sounded out a few times. Long Fei did not bother about him, but walked to Zhao Dahan and helped him up. Third brother, are you all right? Zhao Dahan replied, Me, I'm fine. His entire body was injured, and his head was nearly stomped on until exploded, not to mention that he was fine. Long Fei felt a burst of depression in his heart, and said while looking at Bailey Tianhai, Are the two of you still taking me as your big brother? Do you two still have me in your hearts? Why didn't you tell me such a big thing had happened? Have you forgotten our oaths from the beginning? If he had not been on guard, both Zhao Dahan and Bailey Tianhai would have died here. Bailey Tianhai's gaze darkened. Zhao Dahan muttered, Big brother, it's all my fault. I made second brother not tell you. Long Fei said, Don't talk. Bailey Tianhai stood up, lowered his head, and said, Boss, I thought I could take care of him. I didn't think that this guy would bring an even more powerful person today, if not. Long Fei said, So what? Even if you can handle it, you should at least tell me. Bailey Tianhai said, It's my fault. Next time, if there's anything, I'll definitely tell you. Long Fei also understood in his heart what he was thinking. It was because he did not want him to become embroiled in this conflict as well. This sort of thing was impossible to avoid. If anything happened to Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dahan, it would be the next. It was only because he did not display any talent during the selection that Ma Dongqiao and the others did not find him immediately. At this moment, Ma Dongqiao cowered and continuously retreated. Sun Yong had already been killed instantly. He could only wait to die. Moreover, that strike just now, too terrifying. The aura he felt was the same as Sun Yong's, as though a colossal monster was standing behind him and could rip him apart with a single strike. He didn't dare to move from that feeling. The injured minions also staggered as they tried to get up and escape. Long Fei's eyes turned cold, and he said, Did I let you leave? Ma Dongqiao stopped in his tracks, not daring to take another step forward. The group of minions were the same, all of them shivering. They were afraid that they would be the next to die. Long Fei turned around and walked forward, saying, Who allowed you to come? Ma Dongqiao hesitated. Long Fei glared at him. Speak. Bam. Ma Dongqiao immediately knelt down in fear and said anxiously, Yes, yes, it's the inner sect senior brother Lin. He asked me to deal with you all. Sun Yong was also sent by him. His soul almost shattered from shock. He didn't dare to hide anything. Lin Yuan? Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Ma Dongqiao said, That's right, it's senior brother Lin Yuan. I do not dare to disobey his orders. He is an inner sect senior brother. Dealing with us is as easy as crushing ants. Junior brother. Oh no, brother, I was really forced into a corner, and I didn't even think of killing you. Long Fei said, The reason you did not kill us is because you are afraid that Lin Yuan will abandon you. You want to mess with me during the preliminaries? Why are you still not letting us off when we're in the outer court? Lin Yuan, oh Lin Yuan, you've succeeded in attracting my anger. Long Fei squinted his eyes filled with killing intent. Ma Dongqiao did not dare speak. It was as though the killing intent in Long Fei's eyes could burst out and kill him at any moment. It stopped for a moment. Long Fei said faintly, and said, Do you know how to report to Lin Yuan now? Ma Dongqiao replied, I know, nothing happened. Long Fei replied, Reporting as usual. Also, tell him that if he wants to kill us, he's still too inexperienced. In addition, Long Fei looked at Sun Yong's corpse and said, Deal with him for me. Sun Yong was one of the 10 strongest warriors in the outer sect. If he was suddenly killed, the outer door presbyter would definitely hold him accountable. And if they found out about Long Fei, it would definitely cause unnecessary trouble. Ma Dongqiao did not dare to refuse. He could only bite the bullet and agree. If he did not agree, then perhaps his little life would also end here. And he said, Don't worry, big brother. I will definitely take care of this properly. Long Fei nodded and said, Very good. Seeing that you're so obedient, I'll let you off this time. However, his voice was firm. Ma Dongqiao's body trembled slightly. If big brother has anything to say, feel free to ask me. I'll definitely do my best. Long Fei smirked. Let me tell you this straight. From today onwards, whenever you see me and my brothers, you must call me Grandpa. If not, I will beat you up every time I see you, understand? Understood. Grandfather. Ma Dongqiao continued. The minions behind him also kept on calling him Grandpa. Long Fei waved his hand, saying, Clean up the corpses for me. Then you don't have much else to do. Yes. Ma Dongqiao ordered the 2 minions to carry Sun Yong's body and ran out of the courtyard without the slightest hesitation. After Ma Dongqiao and the group left, Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai and said, You don't need to care about this in the future. Bailey Tianhai did not dare to say more. He was like a child who had done something wrong. He still had some lingering fear from a scene just now. If Long Fei did not come, then Zhao Dehan's head. Under that kind of situation, even if Sun Yong's foot did not crush his head, there would still be a second move, which would be hard for the idiot to escape death. He had miscalculated. Long Fei said, All right, you guys rest well at home. I'll go register first. I have to enter the inner sect within 3 months. If you don't get revenge with Lin Yuan, you will not be a human. Long Fei said harshly as he walked out with large strides. Long Fei hated people who refused to let go the most. Once he had to endure it. Once again, he couldn't tolerate it. You're fucking me? I will definitely kill you until you become a cripple. Long Fei walked out of the courtyard and looked at Zhao Dehan. Zhao Dehan scratched his head and said, Second brother, I'm fine. Even if he stepped on me just now, I would have been fine. Bailey Tianhai let out a heavy breath and said, Big idiot. Have you discovered that big brother is much stronger than yesterday? Zhao Dehan was startled for a moment, then said, I feel it. Every day is getting stronger and stronger. Boss is a complete monster. Bailey Tianhai said, We can't drag Boss into this. If not, we will become his burden during the assessment in 3 months. Their gazes sharpened. It was clear that they were the ones with higher cultivation than Long Fei. But they felt that Long Fei was countless times stronger than them. This feeling grew stronger and stronger. The outside of the ancient antiquity was like a big city. There was everything here. The outside of the ancient antiquity was like a big city. There was everything here. With the ancient antiquity as the center. All the stores here were controlled by the outer sect. When disciples were given an exception, they bought spirit pellets, magic tools, and other daily necessities. Most of the disciples' exceptions had been used up, and not enough. In this sort of situation, the only option was to continue with missions, earning points through missions. The usage of points in the outer sect, and even in the entire ancient antiquity, was even greater than holy source stones. Many things that could not be bought with holy source stones could be exchanged for with points. Just like during the annual intersect examination, you want to sign up? Then he would have to pay 300 points. Only in this way would they have the qualifications to participate. Other than that, there were many other uses, such as requesting special missions. One had to have a point deposit to receive them. Using some special training space as required points to exchange for it. Thus, in the outer sect, points were extremely important. At the center of the outer sect were a few tall buildings. Mission Hall, the General Affairs Department, Team Hall. The three great buildings were all tall and majestic. Many disciples were gathered at the three places. Just like the large city security area in the game, it was extremely lively, making Long Fei feel as if he was in a game. We're forming a team. We're forming a team. We're still missing a spiritual pill master. For the silver-scaled chest, I only need 10 holy source stones. Buy as many points as you want. Provide a guide for each mission. All senior brother S, juniors, senior sister S, junior sister S. Do not miss the guide for any of these missions. I have a guide for each of these quests. Junior brother, you look unfamiliar. Do you want a guide? He's selling the secret skills. It was noisy and lively. Seeing this scene, Long Fei was very excited in his heart. He brought Phoenix to the General Affairs Department and handed over their identity tokens. Register their identities so that they can apply for a mission or do something else. It's registered. 10 points per person. Points can offset the cost of daily quests. If you want to avoid daily quests, you have to earn more points. However, you're all newcomers. Learn more from Senior Brother first. Don't leave the mission easily. In addition, you're already outer court disciples, so you must go see your instructors once every 3 days. They will teach you how to cultivate. Teacher is at the martial arts practice hall. All right, that's about it. He handed over the identity tokens of Long Fei and the other two. Their names could be considered to have truly entered the ancient antiquity. Long Fei asked, Senior Brother, I would like to apply for a barbecue store. I wonder what procedures would be required. Give me your identity board. Long Fei handed it over. The identity board swiping on a divine stone was the same as swiping a credit card in his previous life. Then, he said, all right, deduct 10 points from your application. You can set up a barbecue booth at the night market. Junior Brother, I have to remind you that your points are currently 0. You must earn your points as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to move an inch in the outer court. The 10 points he had just obtained were all gone. The consumption rate was too fast. Long Fei said, thank you for the reminder. A barbecue stand. I don't know if I can make it back. In order to earn points, one had to earn holy source stones as well. Right now, he needed holy source stones for his cultivation, as did Zhao Dehan and Bailey Tianhai. He ate a few mouthfuls of the roasted meat from yesterday. It wasn't that it tasted bad, but it tasted especially bad. They didn't know what barbecue was like at all. Even so, Phoenix was still eating with relish. The night market's barbecue store business was booming. If he opened his store, he believed that it would definitely be extremely popular. With a way to earn money, he would not have to worry about the consumption of his cultivation. However, before the barbecue started, Long Fei had to go and kill the demon beast. The raw materials were provided by themselves. That was the only good thing. He could also save money and give out missions. Long Fei pulled the Phoenix, who was curious about everything, out of the General Affairs office and into the mission hall. He didn't know what would happen if he didn't go in, but when he did, Long Fei was really shocked. Because The hall of the mission hall was exactly the same as the one where the train stations bought tickets in the 1990s. It was packed with people. Phoenix could not help but mutter, so many people. There was a huge projection screen in the lobby, displaying all kinds of missions, such as the time to the mission, the level of the task, and a risk factor. The more dangerous the mission, the higher the reward. Moreover, there were also some missions with very high coefficients that had a special symbol, a star, and some missions with many stars behind them. Long Fei did not understand. He looked at the screen beside him and asked, "Senior brother, what does it mean to have stars at the end of the mission? Is it the number of times it has been completed, or what?" The disciple glanced at Long Fei and said, "Did you come back yesterday?" Long Fei nodded and said, "And no wonder you don't even know the basics. Those stars do not represent the number of times a mission has been completed, but rather the number of times a failure has occurred. Those stars do not represent the number of times a mission has been completed, but the number of times a failure has been completed." Long Fei looked at the mission panel. The panel refreshed. On the uppermost mission, Long Fei's gaze tightened. What kind of mission is that? Over 100 stars. Could it be that over 100 people have failed? That senior brother said, "Not just 100 people, but 100 teams. That mission is one of the 3 divine missions in the outer sect. Let alone the outer sect disciples. There are not even many senior brothers in the inner sect that can complete it." Passing through the South Heaven Gate, Long Fei read out the mission name, South Heaven Gate, a door to the heavens. The senior brother laughed. "You're right. The gate to the heavens is even harder to pass than a gate to the heavens. No one has been able to complete this mission in the past 100 years. The points for this mission is also higher every year. Just this mission alone has 800 points." His eyes were also burning with passion. If he could complete this mission, then he would truly become famous in a single battle and cause a sensation in the inner and outer sections. 800 points might not seem like a lot, but one could count on one hand, and the risk factor for each mission was extremely high. The ordinary task credit rewards were all in single digits. In the outer sect, a single point was equivalent to a spirit stone. A quest worth 800 points, it was an unreachable existence. 100 failures proved everything. These failures not only refer to the outer sect disciples, but also the inner sect senior brothers. Long Fei asked, "Senior brother, you just mentioned the 3 gods mission. Why did you see one? Is it difficult to pass through the South Heaven Gate?" "TCH. Oh, junior brother, you sure have a big mouth. Is it that difficult to pass through the South Heaven Gate? Let me tell you, it's not hard to describe. It's even harder than ascending to heaven. Do you understand? The missions of the 3 gods are all in the same series. Passing through the South Heaven Gate is the first mission. The next mission will only appear after the completion of this mission. The second mission's name is Heaven Seizing Court. The third mission's name was Heaven Punisher." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.